Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me? This is Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me? This is Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me? This is Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me?
With your host, Brandon Tierney. In 3, 2, 1.
What's going on, everybody? BT Unleashed on a Monday. I mean, we're absolutely stacked today. Big announcement coming up in a minute. I've got a lot of combine stuff. The Knicks looked fantastic yesterday. I've got some Yankee and Met nuggets for you there. Got a little something on the Johnnies as well. J-Rod, what's cooking, buddy? You ready to roll on a Monday? Did you have a rough week?
Yes,
look at the
sir.
hair.
Yes,
look at the
sir.
haircut. Look at the cut. Look at the buzz.
Come on now. What's up, Unleash fam?
Look at the buzz.
Good
Yeah.
weekend, chill weekend, fun weekend.
All right, dude.
Ready to get after it. Just want to thank everyone. 17K.
Yes.
Let's just get that out the way.
Yeah, good job.
We jumped like 1,200 subs in a week. So
yeah,
all the love and support, everyone.
Oh, well said. You beat me to it. Good job on that. Yeah, so we're we hit. I thought we were gonna hit 17 over the weekend. We actually hit it, and then we flew by. So I fully believe that by the end of this week we'll be at 18, and then the goal. Obviously, I want more than this, but the goal is to fly by, to just absolutely blow by 20,000 by opening day for baseball, which I fully expect to get. So I'm excited about that. Got some good stuff coming. I dropped that the all-time Yankee lineup post 80. That's up there if you guys missed it on the channel. I dropped the Mets post 80 lineup, and what I'm currently working on is a combination hybrid, which I'll drop probably in a couple of days at some point. The all-time New York baseball lineup post 80. Combining the Yankees and the Mets. How many Yankees will make it? How many Mets will make it? Somebody's going to get bumped, man. So that's going to spur some good debate. I'm looking forward to that. But yes, thank you very much, guys. Appreciate it. Feel the love. Everybody says, I support you guys. Oh, what happened to WFAN and this? I miss you guys. Well, I believe that. I feel that. I felt that from day one. I felt that even at the end of the fan, as I've said many times. But the way you guys, show that affection, show that support, is to subscribe to the channel and, obviously like it and comment and get that traction. And you guys have been doing that as well. So with that being said, and I really appreciate that. With that being said, the big announcement. All right. So you guys know we're going out for our second BT and Sal Live 2.0. We did the first one in January with our buddy Aaron Boone. It was phenomenal. It was sold out at the Vogel Theater in Red Bank, New Jersey. And then as we were trying to plot out, all right, where do we go next? What's the next spot here? Do we go to Brooklyn? Do we go somewhere in Queens? And we had a spot in Queens, which was really nice. But logistically, we weren't sure if it was going to work out, so we kept looking. And then we settled on something that just made a ton of sense, a place I know well, a place that you guys know very well. I know Francesca used to do a lot of shows there. Talking about Mulcahy's. So that's been locked in now for a couple of days. That's April 2nd. At Mulcahy's, beginning at 7. The tickets are on sale. You guys have asked a lot about the tickets. There's a link, whether it's on my X account, on my Instagram stuff, within the post segment, the post tab here on the channel. But now I'm able to let you know who the special guest is going to be. And I told you guys that it was going to blow your mind. If I gave you, 50 guesses, I don't think that anybody really would have gotten it. I heard a lot of A-Rods, and I heard maybe Rick Pitino. I heard Daryl and Doc and some Yankees and some Mets, obviously, with the start of the baseball season. Well, here's a little bit of a backdoor curve for you. Let's get it up there, J-Rod. Coming up, look at him. Carl Banks. That's right. Good old number 58, champion for the Giants. Carl Banks, our buddy, our boy, our guy, our friend. Carl Banks is going to be out there for about an hour or so at Mulcahy. So Sal and I will do, I don't know, about an hour and a half or so of stuff, and play the baseball card game. We'll talk about the Yanks and the Mets. We'll do some NFL draft stuff. We'll have some fun. We've got a great singer, a great opening act, my buddy Mike Martucci, who is the preeminent Frank Sinatra impersonator. That's how we kicked off the first show out at Red Bank, and he blew the lid off the joint when he sang New York, New York. He got everybody in a great mood. Mulcahy's is even a bigger venue, a lot of food, a lot of drink, and to have Carl there, it really, really is, number one, I think it's very surprising to many of you. Not really to me, only because, I tried to tell everybody when this shit was going down and when it went down that, all right, it got off the rails, and, what happened, and, but I've been friends with Carl for a long time. I've known Carl for Carl's a massive St. John's fan. Many of you don't know a St. John's fan. Many of you don't know that. But Carl, I have seen Carl, whether it's in Queens at Carnesec Arena or MSG, for basically 20, not every game, but basically 20 years. He's at a couple of games each season. So I reached out to Carl. We can get that off there, J-Rod. Great job. And by the way, again, the ticket link is within the YouTube channel. Go to the post section, the tab there. You'll see the picture that and by the way, the picture is ridiculous. We look like a couple of douches. We just do. We got to get a better picture now. I don't know what we're going for. Like the boxing UFC look, the fake tough guy look. I get it. A lot of you say, dude, what's up with the picture? You're not wrong. You're not wrong. The picture's ridiculous, man. So, we're not trying to look tough. We're not trying to look cool. But that's the picture that digital continues to go to. I think I'm going to have them change it for the next one. Either way, as I was beginning to plot this out, when let me take a step back. When everything ended at the Fan, I'm like, all right, we got to do something. And then I knew I was going to launch this YouTube channel. I knew that Sal would launch his, which he has. He's off to a good start. Go make sure you hook him up with a subscription. Sal's going to be on the show on my channel, on this show, on Unleashed this week, okay? Either tomorrow or I can't really give you a day because I've got a lot going on. I've got St. John's tomorrow. I've got baseball practice, just a lot of stuff going on. So we're trying to hammer out the day, but it will be this week. Anyway, I said, we got to do something, man. I reached out to my guy, Mortucci, who is the spearheads the Jets trips, right? I made a lot of jet trips over the years, Vegas, Lambeau, Dallas, a couple of others. And I said, hey, I've got this idea. I've got this concept. What about a live show for me and Sal? He's like, done. He's like, there's no doubt. I can get the venue. I can make this happen. He sets up the ticket link through Ticketmaster. He does all that stuff. He is absolutely phenomenal. You want to talk about a great host? Like, it couldn't be in better hands. I mean, everything from A to Z is on lock. So once I knew that Martucci could do that, Tooch, I'm like, all right, now I've got to secure a big guest just to get a little extra buzz for the first one. And, I shot a text to Booney. I remember talking to him on the phone for about 40 minutes. I actually pulled over to the side of the road. I think I was coming home from my last show with the Fan, actually, December 19th. And I said, hey, I've got this idea. I know you're going down to Tampa pretty soon. What do you think? Blah, blah, blah. He said, shoot me some dates. We didn't have the date yet. We had the concept. Long story short, it worked out. And then obviously, as we were plotting the second one out here, I'm like, I want to have another guest. And I thought about Patino. I did, because the proximity to St. John's. Thought about Doc and Daryl. Really thought about a few things. I said, and I wonder if I could get Carl Banks for us. Can we get Carl out there to just have a full circle moment, to just put all the nonsense to rest, and really, a symbolic handshake, and really to write something that really went, unfortunately, very awry. We've talked about that a lot, and we've owned it. And listen, we also said that Carl came in and he was a little bit pissed off and whatever, so we had to defend the show. So there was a lot of things that happened there. I get it, but I love Carl. Sal is good with Carl, obviously, as well. So I reached out to him. I said, hey, we're doing a second show. First one was a banger, sold out, Booty. We want you. I really want you to be the guy that we get up on stage and talk about the draft, and obviously publicly bury the hatchet, even though we're all good. He said, well, what dates? I said, we're looking middle of April-ish, because that was the first venue that we had in Queens. He's like, I don't know. He's like, I'm traveling. I think he said India. Oh, did he say India or Asia? I forget which one. But he had some business endeavors. Anyway, that doesn't really matter as much. I reached out. We were going back and forth. He's like, all right, I'm just waiting for my itinerary. I said, boom, we're locked in for April 2nd. Can you make it happen? And then he said, hey, I'll let you know officially. This was a couple of days ago. Shot me the text. I'm so thankful, so appreciative, so fired up. It's going to be absolutely awesome. So one more time, get that up there, J-Rod. BT and Sal Live 2.0 at Mulcahy's, again, which is a phenomenal spot. I mean, I think we're going to double the audience. And it's based on venue size. We sold out the first one, as I said. We fully anticipate selling this one out as well. And listen, there's a lot of options, and one of them is pricey. I get this. So if you can't swing it, I'm not here to shove it down your throat. But there's one package where it's a meet and greet, and you get to hang out. Obviously, you come up on the stage after the event, meet me, meet Sal, meet Carl, get the pictures, get whatever you want signed. So It's going to be absolutely awesome. Can't wait. April 2nd. Now, rest of the show. By the way, J-Rod, when I sent you that over the weekend,
What's up?
because I know that you recently went back and watched the YouTube interview, with Sal and Carl. And when I sent you, I'm like, hey, and I told you I was trying to get him. I kept you abreast as we pursue this. When I sent you the text that it's locked in, that we're good to go, you were absolutely stunned. How great!
Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy. Because like, I think what's so cool about it is, not only obviously is it a great guest, legendary guest, get people hyped up, but it also is a continuation on a story that you guys had on the show. So it just, as you said, it wraps everything up. Everything comes full circle, and it's just going to be super cool.
Can't wait. All right, man. I want to hear about your weekend a little bit later. We'll get to that. Let's get to the content of the show here. All right. So did everybody have their combine filled? Did everybody get all the tedious, mundane, repetitive? This guy's running the 40. This guy's doing the shuttle. This guy's doing the gauntlet drill if you're a receiver. Oh, look, a quarterback in shorts threw one 67 yards on a fly. I mean, listen, the combine to me is really a complete waste of time. Now, I'm not here to denounce it. I'm not going to be that guy. I'm just here to provide some context, okay? Number one, if you're not a big college basketball fan, if you're not a big spring training person, and I've got some good baseball stuff for you a little bit later in the show, but I realize that not everybody's locked into it the way I am and the way some others are that do what we do. But so I get it. The combine's got a good place. Like, it comes at the right time. We're all getting ready for the draft. We can't wait. The Jets have 2 first-round picks. The Giants first pick for Harbaugh, 5th overall. Free agency's about to pop. We've got to get a decision on Breece Hall by tomorrow, actually. And I fully expect an extension. I have no doubt that that's going to happen. I told you guys this a while ago. He's not leaving. They identified him as somebody they want to keep. So I think that that's going to be very good for the Jets. And there's so much football talk to be had. But let's be honest here. Outside of making money and some programming, which runs the entire weekend, it's largely a waste of time to me. That's really how I view the combine, guys. When I look at the combine, or really when I look at the process of trying to determine what college player is going to best transition to the NFL, it's not the combine that I look at as the first checkpoint, the first barometer. It's not. Number one, what's the tape show? Number two, what are the in-team, person-to-person meetings like? What do they go through? And what does the player project in terms of intelligence, adaptability, personality, all those things that these teams are looking for? And these interviews, I mean, there's some tough questions, there's some weird questions, and some people have gotten in trouble over the years. But again, I'm not here to say that it should go away, because it does serve a purpose, but it really is overstated. And in a lot of ways, guys, it's a colossal waste of time, because to me, on the pecking order of importance, again, we're going tape, we're going person-to-person meeting, and then we're going to go combine. Yeah, I want to know. I want to know what you run, of course, but there's different versions. It's, even though it's digitally set up, it's not 1957. All right, go. I mean, it's all radar based, and it's pretty much down to the 1/100th of a second perfect. I get it. You'll have a little discrepancy. I know Schefter had that over the weekend with one of the receivers. There are a couple of discrepancies, but how big are you? What do you weigh? What do you bench? How high do you jump? Blah, blah, blah. All right. I'm not saying that it's valueless. I'm not trying to say that at all. I'm not even taking a shot at the NFL or the NFL Combine. I watched a decent amount. It's not appointment TV. Home, I had a lot of things going on this weekend, as many of you do. But when I'm home and I remember that it's on, I'll pop it on. Or, maybe not. I did this Saturday night. The NFL Network was running it again. And why wouldn't they? Just run it all day, all weekend. And I popped it on for a little bit. But it's not really, to me, indicative of what you're going to be on Sunday. It's just not. Like, I'm going to give you a good example. Let's take a corner. All right. Let's take a cornerback take your, and we've gone through this a lot, whether it's D. Milner with the Jets and a million other corners who were thought to be can't misses that just didn't get the job done. Now, a corner is going to go out there and he better run well and he better be quick twitch and you want him to measure up properly and all that stuff, right? But to me, the real moment of inflection is when, and this comes out in the film, obviously, is when that ball is in the air and 80, 90, 100,000 people are holding their breath. They're like, all right, what's going to happen? what happens to that player's heart rate? Do they get handsy? Or are they? Is their skill and is their positioning perfect? Are they calm? Are they able to adapt and react to the hand checking? Can they get away with just enough so there's no flag there that results in an incredibly overly punitive, 45-yard pass interference, which I can't stand. I mean, I'm not going to get on a tangent there, but I do think that they should really change that, almost more like the college. Make it 15 yards, unless it's incredibly, like, I would almost, how in the end, I guess I'll give you a little bit on this. In basketball, you got a flagrant 1 and a flagrant 2 and a common foul, right? I would almost like to see varying degrees of pass interference. I really would, because to me, because you've got the receiver, he's getting handsy. You've got the corner or the safety or even a linebacker deep in coverage downfield on a tight end, whatever, or a running back out of the backfield. And, both guys are jostling for position, hand combat, right? And it is really hard to determine who initiated, who stopped, what's past the line of acceptance. And I would like to see that, reviewable for a more accurate reflection of just how egregious or not egregious it was. Now, all right, if it's a little bit, all right, then that's the 15-yarder. If it's, not that you're going to throw somebody out, but so maybe you don't need a flagrant 2, but just basically a common foul and just a more punitive one where it actually is specific to the yardage in the air and or point of contact. It bothers me. That's just a little aside. It's just too much. It just flips the field. It's ridiculous. All the advantages are set up for the offense, and I just think too many times the defense gets screwed. The defense gets absolutely hosed. Okay, so anyway, back to the combine here. Like, I've got a guy. He could be at some football factory, and he's got the perfect size, and he looks like the specimen that you want to draft very high, first round grade, cornerback. I'm going to stick with the corner. And he runs like, 4.29, 4.31, requisite speed, checks all the boxes, jumps out of the stadium, right? He's got all that stuff. But then when there's a play to be made, what happens? And that's how you determine if somebody's going to be a stud on Sundays or if he's going to be a bust or if he's going to be an average player or if he's going to be overdrafted or underdrafted. Because there's a lot of players out there who are, 2 or 3 tenths of a second below optimal, what you were looking for time-wise from a personnel perspective, an NFL team grading evaluation perspective. But then you watch them, and they're just always in the right time, at the right spot. They make the right play. They don't overreact. They don't get handsy. They don't just panic. And that's what you really can't determine at the combine. I'm sorry. Like, I do like the gauntlet drill. It's kind of cool seeing the receivers run and spin and catch. I get it. But that is not indicative of what's going to happen on Sunday. And I think a good example is batting practice in baseball, right? You could have how many times light tower power, and then he's a 220 hitter when the lights go on. Why? Well, because when you're taking batting practice, unless the guy throwing BP, let you know he's got something soft coming, he's not trying to fool you. He's trying to groove your swing. So everything's going to be a meatball, room service, batting practice fastball. And when you know it's coming, you're going to put your best swing on it. And what happens in a game? It's the exact opposite. It's, trickery and trying to deceive you and throwing 4 or 5 different pitches from different slots, different timing, So I know why they do it, okay? And they'll never get rid of it. It makes too much money. It does fill a good gap in the sporting calendar. As I said, if you're not a big college basketball fan or a spring training baseball guy, you just want, shoot some NFL into my veins. Shoot me. Let's go. I get it. But what you learn really is just not that much. And just to stay with the baseball example, like if you had, and they do have this now, like a scouting combine for baseball. All right, let's run the 60. Oh, wow, this guy ran a 6.51. He's a blazer. All right, let's have him throw from shortstop. If you're an infield, is what they do for baseball. Let's have him throw deep in the hole at shortstop. All right, what is he across the diamond? Up 92 miles an hour. Up 93, really good. Up 85, a little light on the arm. Maybe he's going to be a second baseman. Maybe he's going to move to the outfield at some point. And you hit rockets because you know what's coming. It's all scripted. All right. You run down to first base. All right, home to first. What do we got? All right, sub 4. There you go. All right, high threes. All right, this guy's a 4.13, 4.18. All right, it's not really conducive to the position that he plays. I just can't get overly enamored. I can't get overly wrapped up in in trying to project just based on the sheer numbers when you are able to script this and prepare for this for months. There's no surprises at the combine. The only surprise really is when you sit down with certain team, with any team, and they ask you questions and you get up on the grease board. If you're a quarterback, all right, what do you see here? What do you see here? What do you do there? All right, what's the secondary outlet here? This is coming at you. Where are we going here? Like, there's value there for the quarterbacks. That's why I say that the tape, the team meetings, and then the combine, that should be the pecking order. But invariably, we see it every single year. There's a ton of names that shoot up the draft board. And by the way, I don't think Sonny Styles is one of those players. He's shooting up the draft board, but he's going to be an absolute stud. All right, so that I'm not talking about him. But Vernon Golston comes to mind, right? Workout freak, workout warrior, absolute scrub on Sunday. Never got a sack as a member of the New York Jets. Not a single solitary sack was recorded by this beast at the combine. So I don't place a lot of value on it. I'm sorry. And I do think that the really good teams, the elite organizations, are able to, kind of throw it all in a blender, hit the button, and then determine, what type of drink ultimately it's going to be. But, man, there's so many modern people now, younger talent evaluators that are so wrapped up in the metrics and the numbers that they're blinded by the reality. It's almost like they convince them. This happens all the time. They convince themselves that, all right, well, listen, I watched this game against Ohio State or LSU or Alabama or USC or Notre Dame or Michigan or whomever, and, the tape was a little underwhelming, but, man, look at that 40. Look at those measurables. If we get them in the building and we coach them up, blah, blah, blah. You're either a baller or you're not. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't mistakes made. There are, to the contrary, where you ignore people and they show up and they're like, wow, this bullets are flying around. This guy's making plays. So, again, it's fun to an extent. It's incredibly repetitive. It's incredibly long. And you could extrapolate out of the combine whatever you want. But I find, I learned my lesson. The drop dead moment for me was where I no longer value the combine in terms of really being the ultimate barometer or fully shaping my opinion on certain players was Zach Wilson. Because there are players who just make a single throw or have a single moment at the combine. And now all of a sudden there's an immense amount of buzz. And I'm not talking about the smoke screens that a lot of teams will plant to try to throw other teams off scent. Nah, we don't like this guy. Nah, this guy's a little sloppy. I don't know. There's even character assassinations, which I can't stand, which I think is so unfair. Whether you're going to be a great NFL player or not, to work your whole life, and this happens all the time. And Amy Trask, who I used to work with, who was the first female executive in the history of the NFL with the Raiders, hired by Al Davis. Love Amy. Did TV with Amy for 7 years. Learned a lot from her. All right. And she would always say this. She would go on these, and she's not a ranter like me. Like, she's much more sedate or maybe measured, even keeled as she presents things that bother her. But, man, that was one thing that absolutely drove her nuts. And I agree. Like, she's not bombastic, but her point was always driven home very effectively. To me, it's just, man, think about the path to get to the combine and then to get drafted and then ultimately to enter any league, whether it's NFL, NBA, baseball, whatever it might be, hockey at the junior ranks. Think about the work that you've put in. Think about how much you've dedicated your life and what you've sacrificed, whether it's going to the beach or hanging out with your buddies or going on vacations with the family. The sacrifices, and they're willing sacrifices to be fair, but they're still sacrifices. And then because some punk executive wants somebody to fall down the board so that they have more access to better players, they plant the seed. Well, I don't know. This guy's not, he's not incredibly reliable. I'm hearing some whispers, not a high character guy. That shit happens all the time. And it's never going to stop. And I just think it's inherently and patently offensive and unfair to these young men. So that is the combine spiel. Honestly, I just think that it is, it is what it is. I'm going to leave it at that. It is what it is. If you love it, again, I'm not here to denounce it. I'm just here to provide the proper lane and description and context for how I value, or in certain regards, really don't value the combine. And that's all I'm saying. All right, let's see. Here we go. At Kitty Wright. I believe that's a new handle. So if you're new, welcome to the show, man. Appreciate it. Very difficult to measure mental fortitude under pressure. No combine's going to do that. I agree. So there are ways to do that. I remember, and a little side story. It actually, full disclosure, it completely messed me up as a baseball player. Not that I was ever going to make it. I was not. Please understand that I was not good enough. But I came back. I had a red shirt my freshman year. I got in a very bad car accident. Very bad. Could not play at all. So in baseball, you are draft eligible unless you go to JUCO or high school. As a collegiate player, you're draft eligible after 3 years. Not as a sophomore, not as a freshman. It's not like It's not like basketball. It's more like football, right? So I had an awesome summer. I was locked in. My body began to change. Thank God, I must have done shit. I was doing the jailhouse workout. I was doing 50 push-ups the moment I woke up, 50 before I went to bed, hit off the tee, drop down, do 50. I was locked in. And anyway, I go back to Marist. Now it's my sophomore year because I didn't play my first year, but I'm draft eligible, right? As funny as that sounds, me saying that now, because I never came close. But we start the fall, and the way baseball goes in Division I, you play like 8 or 9 fall games. They don't count, obviously. You might play a couple JUCOs. We played some local schools, Iona, West Point. Anyway, long story short, I didn't even know he was there. There was a White Sox scout there, and I wound up going like 5 for 8, and a couple of the hits was against the kid from West Point who actually got drafted. Forgetting his name, drew fucking gas. Really, really good. And I had a couple of doubles, and I hit a home run, and I wasn't a prototypical home run hitter. Crushed it. And when I get home, right before the fall season ends, we have our team meeting, and our manager's like, hey, all right, we're enjoy Christmas, blah, blah, blah. Here's our workouts while you guys are home, and we're going to start up when we get back and the intersession, and we'll come back to campus this day, and we'll start our off-season conditioning, and then it's full go, right? So we have the meeting, and my manager, who has since passed away, rest in peace, or Art Smith, he says, B, hang around, I got to talk to you. So the White Sox sent him a letter, and I didn't know that they were at the game. They loved what they saw. And then, of course, that messed me up because the scout told my manager, I love his swing, I love his arm, I love his hands, but this is all combine stuff. This is not self-glorification, trust me. So this is nothing to glorify with baseball. So he says, he really, really likes you, but he's, because you can't run, and I've said a million times, I couldn't run for anything. He's got to see, he wants to see more and more and more power as the year goes on. I'm like, okay. So all I did all winter, like an idiot, because I had kind of like a Mark Grace left, as a lefty, left field to right field kind of a hitter. And all I did was basically bench, and I put on 15 pounds, and I got massive, and I lost my swing, and I had a shit season, and I never got drafted, and the White Sox stopped scouting me. But what they did do, I remember they sent to the baseball office, this mental test. And it was like, it had to be over 100 questions, right? And it was there, and they were weird questions. And it was all about leadership and how I would react to adversity. It was a standard test that they gave people that they thought were prospects, right? And I remember filling it out, and I took it seriously, very seriously. And I sent it back. I don't know how I did, but if I would have played well, it wouldn't have mattered, but I didn't. So the ability to I say this because reading that text, you're right. You can't tell about fortitude in a mental test, or really you think you can, but you can say the right thing and you can fool somebody, and they can walk out of the room, and you can look at each other and say, we got our next quarterback. My God. I mean, look at that. Zach Wilson threw one on the run, 60 yards on a fly, basically, on one foot at the combine. And he can run. We'll get some weight on him. Yeah, we know we threw a couple of interceptions, but we'll clean that up. It is one convoluted, messy, inexact process. It's basically throwing darts, and there's a randomness to it that no combine's going to ever settle or solve, all right? So the good teams are able to kind of plow through that, and the bad ones are not. So that's what you got to hope. You got to hope that you're a fan of a good team, a smart team, and a team that's able to really cut through the nonsense. So, all right, you ran a 4.29. Fantastic. Can you get off the line of scrimmage? If somebody's jamming you, if you've got a corner who's like Darrelle Revis, who was very stout and thick, and he can run as well. I'm talking about healthy, younger D. that first move, can you get some separation? Or is the cornerback basically rerouting you, which now causes a 1/10 of a second or 2/10 of a second that throws the entire play off script? Well, you're not going to see that at a combine when you're doing the gauntlet, which is my entire, or really one of my points here. So that's it. I'm not going to continue to harpoon the presentation, but it is kind of a dog and pony show. If you love it, good for you. If you don't, good for you. And we'll see. There'll be a million mistakes at the combine. There'll be a million overreactions at the combine. There'll be a lot of players undervalued and written off that'll go in the 3rd or 4th round that we will see in the Super Bowl someday, make winning plays, maybe even win the Super Bowl MVP. And that's just the way it goes. So we're with that. I'm going to get to some Knicks stuff in a minute, but it is time. It is a Monday. Time for you. You're a little ready for this here, J-Rod? Get it up there, buddy. And it's about the combine specific. 3 burning questions every Monday, brought to you by my friends at Sullivan Papain, one of the world's best personal and New York's personal injury law firms, according to U.S. News and World Report. Get fired up with Sullivan Papain at every St. John's game this year at the Garden. I'll do a little Johnny's later as well. Remember the name, Sullivan Papain. Find Sullivan Papain online at triallaw1.com. That's triallaw1.com. Remember the name, Sullivan Papain. All right, 3 burning questions. First up, here we go. The first question, look at that graphic. My God, that is absolutely scintillating. Who made that? Number 1, which prospect helped his stock most at the combine? So as I shit all over the combine, now I'm gonna feed into it a little bit. Well, I'm gonna go off the radar here a little bit. I'm gonna go with a quarterback, and his name is Jalen Green from Arkansas. Listen, if you're a big SEC fan, if you're a big college football fan, you obviously know that. He is a big, big player. Now, he was originally thought to be guaranteed a day 3 pick, whatever, 5th round, 6th round, maybe 6th or 7th round. The way he performed, he very well might jump into day 2. There's no chance he's jumping into day 1. But he really did help his stock. He's 6'4", he's 230. He ran a 4.3 640. And he had the best quarterback vertical since 2003. So which prospect helped his stock the most at the combine? I'm not saying he's going to be a star. I'm not saying that at all. I've seen him play a little bit, but I will tell you that the reports on him, the numbers are through the roof, and he is a big-bodied young man. So my answer, Jalen Green. Quarterback, he's probably right now, I'd say, the 7th or 8th quarterback prospect in that neighborhood, and it's a weak quarterback prospect group. But I do think he's got a really good chance to sneak into day 2. All right, question number 2, 3 burning questions with BT, brought to you by Sullivan Papain. Well, let's go to the converse there. Which prospect hurt his stock the most at the combine? And this is an easy one. It's the low-hanging fruit, but it's impossible to ignore, and that's got to be the defensive end, who was great in the championship game, even though they didn't win. That's Ruben Bain. After that game, and during that game, I'm tweeting out saying, hey, I'd be good with Ruben Bain going 2 to the Jets. There is not a chance in hell that the Jets take him number 2. He's not going 3. I think there's a chance he plummets down the draft board, unfortunately for the young man. And I know that this seems ridiculous, arm length, but for that position, edge rusher, it matters. Hey, and I'll give you the exact measurement, but then I'll give you the context, which matters more. His arm length measured 30 inches and 7/8, 30 and 7/8 of an inch, which is historically short for a first-round edge. By the way, the last time an edge rusher with that kind of measurement for his arm length went in the first round was 1999. Now, what you might get, and it's going to suck for Ruben Bain because he's going to lose a lot of money, but what you might get is incredible value where, all right, maybe he's not an every down edge rusher, but really I don't know what a great comparison would be for the other sports. I'm trying to think, maybe a really undersized point guard, maybe a really short pitcher, particularly a righty, although Pedro defies that. But for the most part, they want to draft these big boys, 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", 220, 230, these monsters. I don't know if that's a perfect apples-to-apples comparison, but his stock absolutely has been hurt a lot. All right, number 3, J-Rod. Let's keep it on the combine theme. Yep. Is Alabama quarterback Ty Simpson worth a top 15 pick? Number 1, he's a very confident young man. I saw some of the video of him walking around the whatever it's called. The what do they call that thing? What's the big whatever that? What is like a convention center? There you go. That's what I'm looking for. Jeez. And there were some cameras on him, and he's like, yeah, he just looks confident. Said he wants to go to the Jets. All right. I mean, a lot of people say that. Everybody's going to say that, even if they don't want no part of the Jets, because the Jets have the second pick, which he will not get drafted with, and they have the 16th pick, which I also do not think that they will draft him there with. However, specific to the rest of the NFL, is Ty Simpson worth the top 15 pick? I think that he is. I do. Now, number one, all quarterbacks are going to get overvalued because until you have one, you don't have one. And if you don't have one, you're irrelevant. You need one. So that's just basic stuff. But I also like Ty Simpson. I've said that a lot. Now, I think if the Jets had better history with developing quarterbacks, and I wasn't so, and I shouldn't lump him up. I know I shouldn't, but I can't. I shouldn't lump him in with the others. It's almost unfair to Ty Simpson. You can get that off there. Thank you very much. Good job there. And again, brought to you by Sullivan Papain. Sullivan Papain, of course, the 3 burning questions. First sponsor here for Unleash. Got a lot of love for them. If the Jets were the Patriots, or I don't know, the Jets were the Bills and you had Josh Allen, or the Jets were the 49ers, and anytime they throw anybody out there, they do well. I mean, Mac Jones stepped in for Brock Purdy. Probably did well. I mean, he almost wasn't drafted. Brock Purdy, he did well. Like, there's just certain teams that do this very well, and there's certain teams that don't. And the teams that don't are the teams that are horrendous, like the Jets, like the Browns, like other teams, right? Like the Titans to an extent. They got to get their act together, although I think they got it right with Cam Ward this time. Anyway, he's a good player. He is a leader. I think he's got a lot of intangibles that a lot of people like, including myself. He's a fiery leader. Had 0 run game to speak of, none. He threw it over 70% of the time, down in distance, was adversely impacted. I've talked about this at length here, so I'm not going to really reset it too much. It's on some other shows. Just check the channel. But when you are handing off on, and this is Alabama we're talking about. This is not, I don't know, Northwestern trying to hang in the Big Ten. It's Alabama who has ruled the roost forever, going back to the Saban days and beyond Saban. Their great history. They just didn't have a lot of talent this year. They really didn't. It was a very different Alabama roster. And when you run on first down and you get nothing, or you get a yard, or you lose a yard, it's 2nd and 11, it's 2nd and 9, it's 2nd and 10, and now all the pressure in the world is on the quarterback. And is any Alabama wide receiver? Think about this. I'm not saying there's no good ones, but is any Alabama wide receiver thought to be the first best wide receiver in the draft? No. Or the second? No. Or the third? No. Or the fourth? No. So it's not like he had, Jerry Jeudy out there just destroying people. He got a couple of good players, but no run game. And, it's a rough spot. I like him. I'm terrified. If the Browns were to take him to compete with Shedeur Sanders, I have no faith that the Browns would properly develop him and coach him up and insulate him. Same with the Jets and same with some other teams. So you want to tell me the Steelers take a flyer? Let's say the Steelers bring back Rodgers, which I don't even know if they will. I think he's going to go with actually, I think he will. Really, I think they will because of McCarthy. But let's say they bring back Rodgers and you want to take a flyer on Ty Simpson? That's different. Somebody else wants to scoot up a couple of picks and get him in and let him sit and watch for a year. I think Ty Simpson could be a very good NFL quarterback. So, yes, I do think that he is worth a gamble inside the top 15. So there you go. All right. Now, what else we got cooking here? Let's get to the Knicks. All right. J-Rod, keep those texts fired in, brother. And we will get to the Knicks. Obviously, draft, combine stuff, burning questions. Want to pop in on that. Do a little baseball as well. So if you want to react to the announcement, Carl Banks joining me and Sal at 2.0. It's going to be great. See, the Knicks looked freaking phenomenal yesterday. They looked absolutely awesome. There's no buts, and there's no asterisks. There's no little ... The Knicks looked like a team that could win the championship yesterday. And now I'll give you the little asterisk. It's efforts like that leave me utterly confounded with this basketball team. Their upside is incredibly high. And then you see some of the floor moments, all right, where they're maddeningly inconsistent and their defense is awful, although it's been great for a while. By the way, the Knicks are number 9 in net defensive efficiency. I think it may have gone up a slot because they held another team under 100 yesterday, which in the NBA, the modern NBA, is incredible, man. I mean, the Knicks really do look good. And speaking of defense, I want to make sure I give Karl Anthony Towns some props. Number one, he's really embraced his role. I'd like to see him get more shots. I'd like to see him be more assertive. There's things that terrify me about Karl Anthony Towns that I'm well on the record for. But think about this. So the Spurs, all right, this is a deeper dive, but this is a nice reflection on Cat. The Spurs shot 14%, 2 for 14 on plays in which Karl Anthony Towns guarded Wemby. So, and it wasn't necessarily that Wemby took those 14 shots, but within the flow, within the structure of that particular play, those 14 shots, as they initiated the offense, Cat was matched up one-on-one individually with Wemby, and they took 14 shots, they hit 2. That's good stuff. So I'm never going to be the guy who just dumps on somebody because I said something a while ago, and I want to be stubborn, and I want to be proven right. I want to be proven wrong with the Knicks. I've told you guys that a million freaking times. But it's games like yesterday where I'm like, man, where is this performance on a more nightly, regular basis? Why do they go up and make you think like, man, maybe they do have the horses to make some run and get out of the East and win a championship for the first time since 1973? And then conversely, there's been too many nights that we've talked about on this show, me and Sal on the Fan. Twitter goes ablaze. Like, what the hell happened to the Knicks last night? Why such a precipitous drop in performance? Wait, how does Mikal Bridges go? He took a lot of shots, by like 17 shots. By the way, if you take 17 shots and you score 25 points, I don't love that. Like, you got to get to the free throw line a lot more, but he doesn't do that, so I'm not going to even reset that. We know that. But Bridges was great, all right? And Cat was really good. And OG was really good. But the reason why yesterday's win against the Spurs, number one, the Spurs were red hot. So, and they're a really good team, and they're very well coached. They're just a good team, all right? And the Knicks seem to match up okay with them. And the NBA is all about matchups. But it was a team win. Like, really, everybody had fingerprints on that game. Alvarado was plus 20, plus minus plus 20. You saw Shamet doing his thing. Mo Diawara, was absolutely, really, really influential again, sticking a ton of threes. The Knicks looked fantastic. I'd love to see this more often. I really would. But right now, Omar, I thought they may have jumped up a spot. There you go, Omar. Appreciate that. Knicks are now 8th in defensive rating, have the best defensive rating over the last 18 games. Yeah, I said they were 9. I surmised they may have jumped up a spot to the and they did. Thank you for that verification. But, Cat's starting to play some defense, and you're starting to see, not Sohan, Diawara keeps playing like this. Sohan's never playing, but at least he's there as an option for a specific matchup. I love the Alvarado pickup. And, there's just a lot of good things that you can take away from yesterday that can bolster even the greatest detractor. And I'm not going to call myself the Knicks' greatest detractor. I think I'm somewhere, I'm probably more, I'm definitely less a believer than more, all right? See, they're on the scale of like Nick belief. There's the fanboy sycophant. Knicks are going to win the championship no matter what. Then there's the, obviously far less than that. But, if this is the middle, they're much more, hey, they've shown some signs when they play well, they could do this. They made some pickups. Why can't the Knicks mess around and get to the finals and maybe win their first championship, as I said, since 73? And then there's those who are more neutral, like, all right, when they're good, they're good. When they're not, they're not. And then there's me. Now, not all the way to the other end where I'm like, the Knicks suck. They got zero chance. I've never said that. Even at the lowest moment this year, I've never once said that. I don't believe they're going to win a championship, but I've always left that door slightly ajar because of their potential upside and my belief in Jalen Brunson and the depth of the team and some of their other players. But I would say that yesterday's win and the way they played, all right, makes me go a tick a little bit more in the favorable direction. And I'm happy to say that. Now, there's 21 games to go. Time's ticking. Knicks are 39-22. They're not even the 2 seed. They're not going to be the 1 seed. That's going to be Detroit. They're a game and a half behind Boston for the 2 seed. They can obviously catch them, and I would love to see it. I really would. But even if the Knicks finish with a fury, let's say of the 21 games, let's say the Knicks go let's say they go 15-6. All right. If they go 15-6, you're talking 39-15. Make that the 4, carry that. Knicks would be a 54-win team, which would be exactly what I said that they would be at the start of the season. I said 54, 55 wins. You'd feel good about it because if they do go 15-6, it means they beat some good teams. This week coming up is a massive measurement, and the Knicks should have a lot of confidence beating the Spurs the way they did yesterday. Coming back, last weekend, beating the Rockets from 18 or 19 down, following it up with a professional grinded out win on the road after a game where they used a lot of energy to come back from that big deficit against the Rockets. They beat the Bulls. I know the Bulls stink, but that was a professional win, so to speak. But this week, tomorrow at Toronto, all right, whatever, but always a tough venue. You got to go, customs and all that. And one thing I didn't know, even when you travel, when you leave the country, and you're on a charter flight, you still have to go through customs. And I learned that when I actually called a Knicks game up in Toronto. Chris Bosh was with Toronto, that team. And I'm like, oh, this would be nice. Nope, you get off the Knicks team plane, and you still have to go through customs. So anyway, they've got to go up to Toronto. Then it's Wednesday against OKC at the Garden. Then it's Friday at Denver. Then it's Sunday at the Lakers. Then it's Monday at the Clippers. I mean, so you're talking about 5 games there. That is the measurement of what they're not the ultimate measurement of what they're going to do. It's not a literal absolute foreshadow because they could go 1-4 and then get hot and clip somebody and get to the Eastern Conference Finals, and all that belief is reinstilled. They could go 3-2. They could go 2-3. I mean, I don't think they're going to go 5-0, but geez, if they did, the energy would be through the roof here. But this will be a good barometer, and I want to see what the Knicks have. I want to see where the Knicks are, and I want to see what they do. At Timmy Thomas 0580. What's up, Tim? Should the ups and downs in the Knicks' performance be a criticism of Brunson as a captain? He should be helping to elevate his team. No, I think that's more on the coach. I think that's unfair. I mean, listen, when you're the cap, we do get a little bit overly wrapped up in the captain. I mean, come on, the whole Lindor captaincy stuff. And then Cohen said, I guess 2 weeks ago, he'll never be a captain as long as he owns the Mets. Hernandez was a great captain. Mattingly was a captain. I think Judge is a great captain. Hockey's different. I always put the hockey captaincy, the assistant as well, to the side. That's a different level of reverence. It's a different level of tradition. It's a different level of determining what kind of team you have. But not every baseball team has a captain. Not every NBA team has a captain. It's a symbolic gesture to reward somebody, which I like. But when you're not playing well, I'm not going to look to Jalen Brunson and say, oh, Jalen Brunson, you're not a good captain. What's going on? Now, I will look to Jalen Brunson and say, all right, sometimes you're a little bit too ball dominant, a little bit too ISO driven. You're a horrid defender. We know that. All right. Sometimes you don't read that double team quick enough to reroute the ball, to get things going and really cash in and maximize a spacing opportunity favorably for your team. Like, there's basketball things that I could talk about with anybody, even Michael Jordan or Magic and Bird and Kareem and LeBron and Kobe and Shaq. There's always ways to nitpick, right? But not about the captaincy. To me, that's more about Mike Brown. That's more about getting his team to buy into what he is trying to do, and ultimately, if what he's trying to do, if it's right or if it's wrong for this group. How would you say that? My GGJ
would be my guess.
But every time he pops on, look at the buzz, man. No, we do it. We call that a little fade, a little 1.5 taper fade. What do we got there, Jay?
I call it the telling the guy, hey, whatever you think looks good. Like, I showed him a picture, and then he was just like, yeah, we'll do this. And I was like, hey, whatever you think, man.
It looks good. And he's success with the haircut over the weekend. I know he went to some concerts.
Nah, I can't say that. Success Jay. Looking in the mirror. Success looking going, hey, this guy looks great.
Oh, man. Anyway, so thank you for reading that Twitter handle. BT, whenever the Knicks or Bridges play well, I'll mute. If the Knicks lost to the Spurs, you'd be killed on them. No, I wouldn't. And by the way, I have no problem with that text. I appreciate that pushback. And I'll even take it a step further. I could see why some of you think that. I really do. If the Knicks would have lost to the Spurs, it would have been a little blip reference on the show today. The reason I'm talking about them as my second topic behind the NFL Combine is because I do think it was a win of value and a win that is at least not forcing me, but on some small level to maybe incorporate some additional thought and possibilities for this team. If anything, I'm being fair to this team. Let me ask you a question, and I want the BT Unleashed fam to answer this. Does anybody really, and if you do, that's fine. It's all good. I'm a big boy. I can take it. Do you really think I've been unfair to the Knicks this year? Really? Like, do you really think that my positioning on the Knicks has been so polar opposite to what they've actually done? Like, to me, that's sleeping on somebody. That's shade. That's hate. That's looking for negativity when there's maybe none to be found. No, I think that I've given you the most honest assessment of the Knicks season of anybody. When they're hot, go back, look, think about it, and I want you to see this just to show you that you're wrong. Go back and go to the library on the Unleashed YouTube channel. And it was one of my earlier posts because we started the show December 22nd. By the way, 17,000 subs already. We hit that at the top of the show. We hit that mark yesterday. We'll get 18 for sure by the end of this week. I can't wait. Can't wait. And definitely expect at least 20. And I believe we'll fly through that as we get to opening day for baseball. So all good things coming. But the point is that if you go back and look at one of the earlier shows, and it's a thumbnail, J-Rod wasn't even on the show. It's a thumbnail that I made. It's probably a shitty thumbnail. The resolution's horrible, all that stuff. But I think it said Mary Kolick. That was when Tyler Kolick just played great on Christmas Day. And I was talking about the upside and the potential of these Knicks. I was bullish on the Knicks coming into the season. Matter of fact, I remember saying on the Fan, when me and Sal were first giving our predictions, I think it was the day, our show, the day of opening night. So, hours before the Knicks kicked off their season, I said Knicks are going to win 60 this year. And as soon as it came out of my mouth, I'm like, oh, wait, nah, that's a little bit ambitious. I don't know about that because I still had some issues with Towns from last year and some other things. And they had a lot of new players in terms of depth. Clarkson doesn't even play now. He played a lot at the start of the year. So I had to figure some things out. But I did amend that fairly fast. And then I went down to 54-55. Which is, if they go 15-6 the rest of the way, they'll be a 54-win team. Now, would I bet on them to go 15-6? Probably not. Probably more like 17-8. Pardon me. 13-8. There you go. Do the math right, knucklehead. I told you I wasn't good at math. So I think that I've been very, not only fair to the Knicks, I think I've been very accurate with the Knicks. There's been a couple of things this year that have really bothered me about the Knicks. There were 2 or 3 visuals, or it hasn't been for a minute. So again, I'm not trying to drudge up the past here, but it happened, and I exploded. There was a sequence, multiple games where Karl Anthony Towns was simply not getting back down the court, where the entire play, like he was playing defense, and whatever happened, or no. One was defense, one was offense. He thought he got fouled. He was complaining. Knicks went back to play defense. 12 seconds later, he actually got his behind off the court. And up the court and played a little bit of defense. And another time was the opposite, right? And that bothered me. I'm like, you can't have that. Come on, dude, get down, play defense. I was all over Mike Brown twice when he was hugging up and dapping up Draymond Green after Draymond shit all over Karl Anthony Towns. Like, to me, that was so weak and such a bad message. Like, if the Knicks don't have great connectivity, and they're starting to show that they're becoming maybe a little bit more connected, and I think Alvarado's really helped them there. But think about before he got here, and think about what Karl Anthony Towns was telling us the first press conference during training camp. He said he was asked what his role was. Remember this? And he's like, I don't know. I'm still trying to figure this out. I don't know what my role is with the offense. I'm not sure. I don't know. And I'm like, that was an ominous sign, and it played itself out, even though, ironically, Cat's like, when he's on the court, plus minus, like his numbers are actually really, really good if you do a deep dive analytically, to be fair to Cat. But the optics of the season, whether it's, appearing to be a little bit disengaged with not a lot of shots and things we've talked about. So, but I buried Mike Brown, and I'm a Mike Brown fan. I didn't want him as my first choice. I want him alone, who was doing the game yesterday with my buddy Ryan Rucco, who's awesome. By the way, Rucco, true story. So Rucco, this is when I was at 1050, and Ryan had just graduated Fordham. Good. Now, he's not even a kid anymore. I always say good kid because when I first met him, he literally was a kid. Good dude and talented, right? And he was doing updates. It may have been after I was with Stephen A. and I was doing that night show from like 7 to midnight, whatever I was doing back then. And he was doing updates. Bill Daughtry was my main. Shout out to Bill as well. Great dude. Legend, the OG Bill. Bill was my main update guy, and Ryan was starting to get some reps, young guy coming in from Fordham. And I just listened to his sound, and I loved his attitude. I loved how willing he was to work and to further learn the business. I remember him asking me a lot of questions, and I remember he was doing an update once, and I used to always interrupt the updates. I'd just jump in and hijack them, not to like do the update for the person, but just to have a little banter. I always found updates boring. I don't know, no disrespect. So anyway, I pull him in, and this was after about the 7th or 8th time I worked with him, right? And I said, and I knew his affinity for the Yankees. Like, he always wanted to be the voice of the Yankees whenever Michael's done. I said, you're going to be a voice of the Yankees someday. I said this back in, this had to be 2000. I mean, I might be off a year or two, 8, because I left there in 2011, I guess it was. I was there for about 9 years, and he was there obviously in 11 and 10, maybe 9, something like that, in that neighborhood. I said, you're going to be the voice of the Yankees someday. Anyway, so Ruka was on the game, and I'm happy for him. Big fan. But, I don't know. I think that I've been very fair and, more importantly, very accurate on the Knicks this year. When something good happens, I tell you. And yes, it was a great day. I mean, Bridges was great. OG was back. Alvarado was money. Mo was great. Knicks looked terrific. Awesome. That Rockets game, great comeback. Brunson hit 4 shots out of 4 attempts in the 4th quarter. They made plays. They made stops. Phenomenal. Alvarado was great that night at the end. Setting guys up. He had 5 assists yesterday as well, plus 20. That's amazing, plus 20 for Alvarado. So you guys can hear what you hear, and that's fine. You can interpret that. You could disagree. You could push back. But I don't agree with that one text, that assertion. I think I am fair. I think I'm optimistic when it calls for optimism. I think I'm real when it's time to be real. And then, because the two things that just drove me nuts this year, I mean, I know I've unloaded on Cat a lot, but the Draymond Green thing and then the Bernie Bickerstaff thing when they got destroyed by the Pistons again, and he's out there dapping. I know that he used to babysit him. I get that. Wait to the tunnel. Horrendous optics. Van Gundy's not doing that. Pat Riley's not doing that. Hubie Brown's not doing that. You just don't do that. And I think the stuff with Draymond, when you do that publicly, you're undercutting Karl Anthony Towns. Like, if I'm Karl Anthony Towns and I see that drives me to the point where I think I would have had to address that. I don't know if Karl's that kind of person, and obviously it's a coach-player dynamic, so you've got to be respectful. You can keep that up. I'll get to that in a minute with Sonny Styles on the combine or at the draft there for the Giants. But he would have been well in his right. He absolutely has earned the latitude and the juice as a really good multi-time All-Star, All-NBA player, Cat, to, in a private manner, whether it's on the team bus, on the team plane, wherever it is, on the practice court, in the training room, I don't care. But he could have very well said, Coach, I mean, it's got every time, however you want to say it, whatever your personality is, but the message would have been, every time this guy's on his podcast, he basically eviscerates me, basically questions my manhood. I know that you've got a relationship with him, and I respect that you guys won together. But that, come on, Coach, however you want to say it. And if Mike Brown would have had a problem with that, well, then that's too freaking bad for Mike Brown. You know what I mean? All right. Brad Kaufman. Brad, what's going on, buddy? Sonny Styles to the Giants at the 5 spot. Elite Combine. Yeah. Well, that's why I think it's very possible. They're going to have a decision with Caleb Downs, who I think that they would also take at 5. But after the weekend that Styles had, and even before, again, if I'm going to tell you that I think the combine, the numbers and the measurements and the jumps and the shuttles and all that stuff, verticals, if it doesn't really, it certainly doesn't guarantee anything. But if I'm trying to minimize it a bit, well, then I can't be disingenuous and overreact to Sonny Styles' incredible combine, historic combine. However, I could, because the tape matches what he did. And you talk to people, and this was starting to circulate even before the combine, that Sonny Styles very well might be the best player coming out of Ohio State this year. They're going to have, 4 or 5, at least 4 guys drafted in the first round. You got Reese, you got Styles, obviously you got a receiver. Like it's a beast of a factory. And a lot of people think that Sonny Styles might be the guy. The one. Yes, to the point where I'm actually thinking that the Jets should take him. I don't know if they will. And put it this way, if there's other players, and I know that there has to be, whether it's Bailey, it's not going to be Ruben Bennett but some receivers, whatever position the Jets are going to target defense, I would imagine more so than anything, maybe a receiver with the 16th pick, maybe, and certainly in round 2. But like, if there's a team that is so hell bent on getting Sonny Styles with the number 2 spot, trade out. I mean, that's the beauty when guys just shoot up the board there. I mean, he's obviously going top 10. I think Sonny Styles, and he was thought to maybe go back end top 10 before the combine. I think he's going top 5. I think somebody's going to do it and somebody's going to jump, and they should, because the tape and the workout and all the reports on him absolutely deserves that. He's earned it, and we'll see. But yeah, if the Giants take him at 5, phenomenal. First tweet in a new city in a contract year about finding a place to golf. Oh, Jermaine Johnson to Tennessee. At OG Jake 99. Keep that up there. What up, OG? Appreciate that. Get these solid kiss asses off my squad. Wow. Well, Robert Saleh shade there. I did see that. I also saw Jermaine Johnson's. I don't know if it was on Instagram, wherever it was, TikTok. By the way, JJ, quick aside. Not JJ, J-Rod, idiot. me. And I like Jermaine Johnson, but I really like the move because they weren't going to resign him. A lot of money. Now they're up to about $90 million, not an effective cap space, but they saved about 11 or 12 with that. Jets will have a ton of money, and he didn't have a great year. He's going to fit Saleh. They're going to go to the 3-4, not all the time. So everything they did, getting Sweat from Tennessee, I love that if you guys missed it. But the what the hell was I going to say? Hold on.
The TikTok. It was something.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you. The TikTok. Because I thought I saw Jermaine's girlfriend is doing very well in that regard too. I say that respectfully. Very well. Very well. I think she put something on the gram or on TikTok, which we are now on TikTok.
Yes, sir.
BT Unleashed is now on TikTok.
BT.Unleashed on TikTok.
Yep.
Toss us a follow. Give us a scroll. Give us a like.
I think that I changed the name though.
Okay, let me check.
I think I did it. I think I initially did the Unleashed thing. It's pretty much all Unleashed stuff. Not all of it, a lot of it. But I think it's Brandon Tierney 26 at TikTok. Okay. I think. Could you double check that?
Yeah, I'm checking right now.
And then whatever it is, just tweet that in the message or the comment section there.
Yeah.
And let everybody see it. That's one thing I need you to do. I'm pretty sure it's Brandon Tierney 26, right?
Yep.
I changed it. I think you could edit the profile name once every 30 days. So I've already hit my limit one day after joining TikTok. I'm like, why did you do Unleashed? So I put my name out there, and I think somebody else so I had to throw my number, my college baseball number in there, 26. All right. That's one thing we need you to get up. The other thing, when you get a chance, can you please copy and paste? It's on Twitter and it's on the post tab here on YouTube. The link so people could buy the tickets.
Yes, sir.
For BT and Sal, because everybody's been asking about that. Everybody. And I think I'm putting it out there, but maybe I'm not putting it out there enough. So just do me a solid, okay?
Yeah, I'll toss it out in the comments, but I've also, just anyone watching, I've got it down in the description below, and then I'll also throw it in the About tab of the YouTube page.
Look at this guy, J-Rod.
A bunch of spots for that ticket.
Look at how proactive he is.
Got you.
He's not just collecting a little menial paycheck. It'll get more and more with time. Don't worry, Jay. Yes, he is getting paid for this. He is proactive. Like, he's not doing the bare minimum. That's how you make it in this industry. That's why I knew Ryan Ruocco was going to be a star when I told him he was doing updates. I said, he's going to be the voice of the Yankees one day. I didn't think he'd be the voice of one of the voices of the NBA too. And he's great doing that. WNBA, all that stuff. But that is a lesson for you young aspiring broadcasters. And it really applies to any facet of life and any field that you might pursue. But when you get a chance, whether it's to produce a new YouTube show, or to do an update, even though updates are gone, but to be a small part of a big radio station. Like if you get a chance to be, engineer some shows at WFAN, right? I'll give you a good example. Rami. I'm sure some of you know the name Rami, right? He is very talented. He is, I believe, I don't know if it's been announced yet. I believe he's taken over for Eddie Schizzeri, which is great if that's true.
No way.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Because I think I maybe spoke to Rami once, but Eddie's my guy.
Yeah. No, Eddie, he's retired. I mean, Eddie's been doing this since 1987.
Oh, no.
Yeah, sure. Shout out to Eddie Schizzeri. Good guy. Really good guy and great at his job. He's going to be missed. But the point is, Rami, and I didn't really know him. He was doing some good stuff on YouTube. And then he filled in for Hoff a couple of times and produced me and Sal. He filled in for Dove a couple of times, running the board as an engineer for me and Sal and other shows as well. And he just distinguished himself, and he carved out, a meaningful place. Anytime he got a rep, he's very active on social media, and, he was somebody that you had to pay attention to. And, I don't know if it's official, but I believe that he's going to take over for Eddie. So that's awesome. And that's a great spot to be. I mean, it's a highly successful morning show. So, I think that's great. It's a good example too. And J-Rod is another example. Like J-Rod was doing not the whole thing, because I was doing the Unkillable live shows, Unkillable, on YouTube when I was still the fan, live reaction after every Jets game. And I had a previous producer, and then he got reassigned and was doing some other stuff. And then they gave me J-Rod. And I didn't really know him. I never met him, didn't really talk to him, except, just to fire this up. Hey, here's the link. And then when I plotted this out, I'm like, hey, you did a good job with that, with the Unkillable Jet stuff. And I was looking for a producer, and I don't say this to pat myself on the back. I think you guys know I'm not about that at this point. But if I tell you how inundated, and I still am, by whether it's DMs on Instagram or tweets on Twitter or messages or texts from people that I know, hey, I know you're looking for a producer. Would love to throw my hat in the ring. Like, there were a lot, inundated, absolutely bombarded, to the point where I almost just stopped looking at them. And I hated that I had to do that, because I get the grind and I respect the grind. I really do. But I had to move forward with my life. I can't be sitting there just staring at DMs on my phone every second of the day. So when it was really time to plot this out, I'm like, you know what? Jared distinguished himself. We've got a good synergy. We've got a good. What happened there? I'm propping him up.
Yeah, that was like
sometimes you can't. I
timing.
tell you what, man. You just can't make this shit up, dude. You can't make this up.
That was actually perfect timing. I mean, it might be the battery sort of thing, but
what the hell's going on?
That couldn't have been any better time. That is ridiculous.
Everything
I was gonna say was, man, like I find it absolutely hilarious. Like, I mean, I couldn't be more appreciative that I'm the guy you picked. I mean, this has been already so far the journey of my life. Like, I'm just like, so ready to lock in and do this.
That's
my
awesome.
thing. I think it's so great you chose me, especially after the live stream incident where the intro didn't play.
Yes.
Oh my God. And I just had you sitting there. That was rough.
No,
moment.
Dude, I'll tell you, well, you're lucky you didn't have young BT, because that version of BT went away a while ago. But I was so like, I'll give you, well, just to finish the thought. So he graduates Syracuse, J-Rod does, and distinguished himself well. And every time he gets a chance to do, by the way, I love the way we can see the guitar now, very visible, good optics there. I like it, man. The ability to show himself and prove himself to me. And by the way, our sales staff here, we've got a sales team. So somebody doesn't just give you money to sell stuff. There is a sales team already in place for BT Unleashed. So, I check out of that. They come to me or I come to them, both. Hey, I'm thinking about this. Here's a great idea. And then the sales team will come to me. Hey, we've got this opportunity. And a lot of it, by the way, is not just the BT Unleashed stuff, but live appearances at bars. I'm doing something over at Borelli's in Long Beach, a live Knicks watch party coming up this Sunday, Knicks Lakers in Long Beach, which is phenomenal. I've been there a few times. Shout out to my boy Mike Quinn, who runs the joint. Packed house, awesome. I've done a couple of live St. John's watch parties there, and it's great. But, you've got to negotiate, talent fee, and are they going to send you a car? And I just have the sales team do that. And, all the things with Sullivan, Papain, and other things that we're working on, things I can't announce yet because they're not done yet. The sales team will go with J-Rod, and I don't want to get like I'm involved. I will say yes or no. Yes, I want to do this. Yes, I'm interested in doing that public speaking, motivational opportunity. But what are they offering? We got to get into this number, and not to talk too much business on it. But the point is that there's a lot of other stuff that happens that once I say yes or no, people have to go and do the work. And J-Rod's doing that behind the scenes as well. Like, coordinating at night. Hey, I'm going to lead the show with this. Let's get a thumbnail. He'll send me, hey, what do you think? Yep, we're good. Hey, tweak this. Most times it's money. Last night we had to tweak something a little bit. And so he's doing a great job. He really is. So I'm really happy for you. And it just goes to show you that when you get an opportunity, you got to kick it in. You just have to. But that's just ridiculous. Here I am pumping. I'm gassing him up. I'm telling everybody how good he is. And you get a little interruption in the stream. And that's not the first time that's happened. So that was just to finish the thought on opportunity. The other thing, to keep that up there, I'll read that in a minute, Jay. Thank you. Is when we were starting the live stream with the music and it didn't fire. And I could understand if I'm him why he got a little rattled. He's just like, go. And when you do this hosting, right? There's like you hear the music. Same with me and Sal starting. Same with me and all the solo shows. Same with me and Stephen A. That all the not millions, hundreds of thousands of shows I've done in my life. There is a musical interlude, which then gets you. It's like walking into the batter's box. All right, you're ready to go. Let's hit, right? And when that is interrupted, it's like, oh, you just feel like you lose your mojo. And when that used to happen to me, and it wouldn't happen much, but when it would happen to me when I was younger, it would take me a while to get past it. And I would probably call the producer out on air, and I would be pissed off. And that was younger. I'm not saying I'm never gonna have fun with J-Rod. If he messes up, I'm gonna put him on blast. That's for damn sure. But I'm talking about learning to just deal with a curveball, plow through, do your job. Yeah, J-Rod, you're lucky. If this was years ago, man, you would have been eviscerated, buddy. Eviscerated. You would have been. Okay, let me read this here. Put on the little glasses. At Ben Limbo, 6339. Ben, what's going on? You are dead on, BT. Combine's a complete waste there. Well, if you're tuning in, well, that's what I was saying to start the show. Like, guys, I understand that it's a measurement. It's a tool to put you on path to making the right decision as to what player you're going to draft and where you're going to draft them, where you value them, who are you going to bypass based on some of the numbers that are spit back at you. I'm not saying it's valueless. I've never said that. And it's good filler for a gap in the sporting season. Again, I'm doing St. John's. They looked great the other night. I'll hit on that in a moment. Great bat. Did you really think they weren't going to respond there for getting their teeth kicked in against UConn with Rick Pitino? That's why you pay Rick Pitino to come to St. John's. That's why you basically beg Rick Pitino to come and save you years ago, because that's what Rick does. That's what Rick does. But if you're not a big basketball fan and you're not a big spring training guy, again, I'm not trying to take the fun out of it, but there's only so much that I can get out of watching the same repetitive movements, the 40s, the shuttles, the gauntlet, all that stuff, quarterbacks throwing in shorts against air, when it's scripted and you basically rehearse over and over and over and over and over. I'll give you a perfect example. So this is behind the scenes a little bit. And of course, it's not specific in terms of like, oh, this show, this station, this year, this moment. But trust me when I tell you, it happened a lot, right? And it will continue to happen because it's technology. Things go awry, like the little zap that we had before. So one thing, and there are a lot of people, of course, I will not divulge names, but there are a lot of people who, if they don't have phone calls, they can't do a show. They can't do it. Me, I don't need a phone call. We're going to get them. That, I think, will be the last thing that we implement. I told you that was going to take longer. And eventually, and this thing's taking a little longer than I thought, but it's all good. It's en route. Things are happening. The glare will be gone. Eventually, we'll move to the white, and then eventually we'll take calls, right? But anyway, there are people, particularly younger broadcasters, but even older ones who just get lazy. When you do a show, especially when there's no visual, all right, conventional terrestrial radio, it's theater of the mind. And I think that's why I fell in love with radio the way that I did. Because when I was listening, whether it was a game, falling asleep, or Steve Summers, and I have a totally different style than Steve. It's night and day. But I just remember hearing him, his tone and the way he would describe stuff. And as he's doing it, I'm conjuring up imagery in my head. And I think it's such a powerful medium. I think that this form of communication is the most powerful. It's not writing, and I love to write. It's being able to get somebody to think and react to your words. And now there's the visual component, which is great, but it wasn't always like that. Anyway, there are people who just can't do that. And there are times where, and I'm back in the day, you think I have notes now, like, I would have things, and I wouldn't read it like Jim Rome. Jim actually has a script as he starts. He's very script heavy, very script reliant. Not a knock. Jim's a legend. I know Jim. I love him. Great. All-time great. But that's one of the ways he's made his mark, and it works for him. I'm not reading stuff. I'm just going to go top of mind, but I'm going to have a roadmap, right? And when that roadmap gets a little curveball, like, all right, say if you're doing a show and you don't have that much prepared and you come out And the first 3 minutes, and this is not that I didn't have much prepared, but this has happened. You come out on fire, first 3 minutes, bang, bang. You guys know my style. Imagine me when I was trying to prove myself, right? Boom, 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 boom. Give you the phone number. All right, let's get to the phones. Joe's in Brooklyn. Joe, you're on whatever. What's going on, Joe? Or Joe? Joe, you there? All right, Joe's not there. Let me get Mike out in Mike's in Wantagh, by the way, which where BT Sal Live 2-0 will be at Wantaugh's with Carl Banks, in Wantagh with Carl Banks. We got Mikey in Wantagh. Mike, what's going on, buddy? You're on so-and-so. What's happening? What's on your mind, dude? Mike, you there? Right? And then when that happens, invariably, if you have a good producer, they'll say, hey, phones are jammed up, keep it going, hit this, boom, whatever. If you have a new producer or somebody who's young or somebody who's lazy and not paying attention, you get nothing. And now, if you're used to doing this, you adjust and you'll be like, all right, hey, listen, phones are down. We're going to fix them up, whatever. Hopefully we'll get them up soon. Anyway, as I was saying, and you get right back to the content, right? You get back to that content. And, that's the art of conversation. It really is. But it's very unnerving, like when that happens the first time or two, because you feel naked. Again, it's hard to describe it. Like, we could talk about, say, a quarterback clock, right? Play in the street, play a couple of years of football, as a lot of us did back in the day. Some of you more than a couple of years, right? And I could talk about, got to release the ball under 2 seconds. You got to make your reads, go through your progressions, blah, blah, blah. But I have no idea what it's like to actually stand in a pocket and have that internal quarterback clock going. And all right, this play ain't working. I got to bail. I got to go my second outlet. I got to spike it. I got to do something because I'm about to get hit and fumble or hit and hurt, right? That's an internal mechanism that through repetition you have. And same thing with content. But when it first starts out, man, oh my God, dead air feels like you feel like you're naked on the air, even though nobody could see you. Again, old school terrestrial, that style. No, you feel like time's going so slow. And you could either ramble and become incoherent. You could stumble and stammer and sound like a dope. But generally, those are the things that, that separate the great ones from a dime a dozen ones. There are so many people who, without phone calls, really just can't do a show. They just can't. And I find that amazing. Like, what? It's not the way it's supposed to be. There's no way, man. Come on, have some stuff ready. Let me get with Drew. BT, did you happen to see Shane Lowry completely hand over the tournament he had in the bag when he crumbled on the bear trap yesterday? I did not watch golf this weekend. No, can't wait for the weather to turn. Andrew from Bay Ridge, I did not. You will get golf content on this show. As a matter of fact, we're working on a viewing party Sunday at the Masters. I can't tell you the place yet because the contract's not signed. I absolutely love golf. I love golf, but I will also tell you that there is nothing in life that torments me like golf. Nothing at all. And I am so envious. J-Rod, you golf at all, bud?
Couple times, but nothing too serious. I've only really truly played an 9-hole or 18-hole probably 4 to 5 times.
Okay, I got you. So I didn't play golf until after college.
Okay,
right?
yeah.
Okay. And I remember, so my senior year, we're done, season's over, and it's senior week. And remembering senior week is no classes. It's a party every day, a couple of activities, which I didn't even go to. We were just partying. So anyway, there was I guess about 3 or 4 kids, guys on my baseball team that were pitchers that played golf.
Okay.
And they grew up with some money. I remember one was all good dudes, like New Hampshire, like that up there, Maine. They played, they were part of the country club worlds, and they were really good. Mm-hmm. And come with us, man. And we'll just bring a bunch of drinks and whatever else we're going to do. Let's go have some fun. Now, I didn't even have clubs. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And I was a lefty hitter. So obviously I'm going to try to swing a golf club lefty. Mm-hmm. And I'm missing, and I'm worm burning, and I'm topping, and I'm a disaster. I caught one because I used to swing like a freaking animal. I caught one with a shitty ball and a shitty club. And this was also in the mid-90s when all the equipment was very different. I must have hit one 275, 280. I absolutely destroyed it. And it was like a drug. It sucked me in. And I'm like, whoa. That felt different, right? I probably got a 9 on the hole because I didn't know how to chip or putt or to get up and down. And if I'm in a bunker, I'm getting out in 10, or I might just take it out and plop it on the green with my hand. But I fell in love with golf. And early on, and then I started my career. And I was in, I went to Pennsylvania and I went to Las Vegas and Detroit. And what I would do, a lot of my college buddies, including some of the guys I just described, we would go to Myrtle Beach every year for about 20 years. And that was a way for us to, one buddy's in Connecticut and all over, and I was in different cities working, to get together, play golf, mess around, go nuts. We're in our 20s. And then obviously I really fell in love with golf. And there was a point, and I was just like I was with baseball. I was like a range rat, hitting balls all the time, had a lot of free golf from 1050 ESPN radio, used to go to New York Country Club all the time on the arm, free. And I loved it, and I watched it. And I mean, I would wake up on a Sunday morning and watch the Open, not the British Open. This tells you I know golf. Not the British Open. It's called the Open Championship. And watch like Duval and obviously Tiger and Phil. But I mean, going back to that generation, right? DJ. And I started playing a lot. And I got pretty good. Like I would, a lot of mid-80 rounds, couple of low 80s. I got my first eagle and refined my game. And I'm playing one day. This is why the golf, I got, if there was one thing I wish I was good at in life, it's golf. So I'm playing probably 3 times a week, right? Is before marriage and kids. And I feel this pain in my back. I'm like, what the hell was that? What was that? Now, I'm in my early 30s. I'm still in really good shape. I'm like, fuck it, Advil, let's go. And I'm taking Advil. And it's not going away, and it's worsening, right? It was like it was a stabbing pain, right? It wound up being my L4, L5, S1. I wound up having micro discectomy surgery. But of course, I waited for a year and I tried to play through it. Yeah. So me in my crazy competitive / idiotic mind, I'm like, I don't know, because it was on my left side and I'm coming through the ball this way. Maybe if I try to play golf right-handed, this is a true story. Maybe it won't impact. It won't like trigger the pain, because as I was getting this sharp pain, I just couldn't do it. I kept trying, couldn't do it. So I start playing right-handed, right? So I have gone back and forth the last 5 years playing righty and lefty. I'm a disaster. I am an absolute circus mess. It is beyond embarrassing because, I don't mean this in like in an arrogant, cocky, jerky way, but especially the golf course, a lot of sports fans recognize me. And I'm like, oh, they're going to see me tee off. I'm just so embarrassing. Oh, God. So where I'm at now is I tee off. I'm a switch hitting golfer.
There we go.
True story, hand to Bible. I've got mixed bag, all good clubs. Mixed bag in my bag. I drive it righty, or try to. And when I catch it, I could still thump it. But now it's right. It looks weird. It's so stupid. I actually hit my mid irons more pure righty. I don't know why, but I never hit them pure lefty. I actually hit them pure once in a while. And I'm actually, this I will say, I am a good chipper and putter. And that has always stayed lefty, because that's
really? Okay.
Yeah. Like that. That's like a feel thing. Like I know it's a hand-eye and depth perception and baseball and shooting. Like I was always a good chipper and putter, so I'll never mess with that. So you'll see me off righty, hybrid or mid-iron, or even, a longish wedge, or even a 9, unless it's a soft wedge, then I'll go lefty. But then once I'm around the green or near it, I'm chipping and putting lefty. It's an absolute disgrace. It's so sad what I put myself through, to the point, is a true story. So the country club has since closed, which sucks. We joined a country club about 5 or 6 years ago when we moved to our neighborhood. We built our home, right? And we didn't know anybody. And I'm like, let's join the country club. Kids were really young, not even in school yet. And we joined it. And I had X amount of, I think it was like 15 or 12 a year I could take guests. And then I would pay for it. Right, they would be my guests, and sometimes my buddies, like it was my bet. Give me $100, dude. I'm not made out of money. Like I'm not paying for everybody here. Sure. But generally, I wrote it off, but I paid for it myself. And I was so embarrassed to like play with. And then I got to know a lot of the guys through sports in town. I'm like, I can't play with these dudes. I'm disgraceful. I'm gonna play righty and lefty, and not even well. So and now the country club's gone, and now I've got more time to practice, and of course, it's not open. But that is a long story on how golf has tormented me to the point of I actually get physically less now because after the back surgery, I'm just thankful to be able to play, get out with my buddies, mess around. I'm like, I'm busy with the sports anyway with the kids, and just go out and get away and just kind of check out of the world for 5 hours and have fun and really not give a shit who sees me or what I shoot. But there was a point where I was like, and I don't get much anxiety, thank God. I was getting anxiety in getting in the car to go play golf.
That's so funny.
Oh God.
Shoot golf performance anxiety. Oh man.
It's true. True story.
So we're like, did you like run yourself up on having to buy like 2 sets of clubs?
Oh God, the amount of I just cleaned them out of my office. I've got so many good clubs. I've usually been a TaylorMade guy. Like when I was playing at my best lefty, I had phenomenal sticks. Great. Always have a good putter. The wedge game is always tight. I've got the Cleveland wedges, but I've got TaylorMade other stuff. And then once I started messing around trying to play righty, I'm like, all right, I'm not going to go and drop $1,200 on irons, which I did the previous time. If I can't even do this. So, I got one, like, I'm not going to name a brand. I don't want to disrespect them, but like a cheaper brand for like $300. And then I'm like, oh wait, no, I'm starting to play lefty again. I went out and got more lefty. I could open a store, really, is what I could do. And the worst part, J-Rob, 2 things out of this. Number one, I regret this, but there's nothing I could do about it. I was just embarrassed, man. I admit it. I was invited, doing what I do for a living, to so many outings. Like Giants, Yankees, Mets, like you name it. Like I've been invited to Wingfoot, high money Wall Street guys that want to take me out. Friends of St. John's, friends of my friends I grew up with. I turn it down every time because I'm embarrassed.
No,
yes, dude.
This is crazy.
You want to laugh? I'll tell you. Then we'll move on because this is getting long here. So, you've heard of Shinnecock?
I don't believe so. No. Is it in tri-state area?
It's in Long Island. It's one of the preeminent. Yeah, it's phenomenal. So this one I was at 1050 ESPN Radio, and I guess it was the 2004 U.S. Open. Was it 04 or 03? I think it was. I'm almost positive it was 04. Can you double check 2004 U.S. Open Shinnecock winner? I know Retief Goosen won it when I went. Anyway, so. And Jim Furyk had won it the previous year, I believe, at Congressional. And you're going to get a lot of golf stuff. I'm telling you, I love golf. I'm not good, but I know golf and I love it, right? Was it 04, Retief?
Yeah, it said 04. Let's see, was held 1720 at Shinnecock Hills Golf Club.
Retief definitely won. I know that.
Retief Goosen. Yep.
Yeah, South African. Okay. So that was in June, like the U.S. Open usually is. And my old station, ESPN Radio 1050, they said, hey, we have an opportunity. You could do some shows out there on Saturday and Sunday. I'm like, abs. And then I was hanging out in the Hamptons. That was just an awesome weekend. Okay. And about 2 months before that, I guess they do this for many events. They had the previous winner of the U.S. Open, which was Jim Furyk, on a teleconference even though he didn't win at Shinnecock. But we went to Shinnecock, and members of the media, and we had 2 passes to my old station. They asked me to do it. And to play Shinnecock 2 months before the U.S. Open. And I remember talking to one of the caddies and the 4 caddies, and it was a big lunch, really nice. And they had Furyk again, and you could ask him questions through the media, blah, blah, blah. And I remember asking one of the caddies, hey, what? Because the U.S. Open's known for hellacious conditions. I'm going to teach you a little bit. The PGA is easy, relatively. The Open Championship is all about short game, right? And conditions. U.S. Open is usually about length and like crazy rough and like the stimp meter, like just rolling like concrete on the greens. So I was curious, like the course I'm playing on today, what percentage of it is going to be for Tiger Woods and Mickelson when they come in 2 months? And the guy's like, it's about 85%. I'm like, whoa. Anyway, so we start off and we was like a shotgun. And I think I was on the 11th hole, whatever the hell I was. And the caddy was awesome. And I was with a few people. I don't even know who I was with. A few people in the media. And I take this vicious swing. And I was, and I hit one out of bounds to the right as a lefty. So I pull it into the weeds, the woods, whatever it was. And he's like, hit another one, dude. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I pounded it. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Yep. And I hit it. And now I'm like, all right, make the adjustment. And now I have a little banana ball far, but the other way. I make so first one's vicious hook out of bounds right. Next one's out of bounds left. He's like, come on, hit another one. I'm like, you sure? He goes, yeah, have some fun today. I'm like, all right. So I take a massive swing. Now I dribble it 6 feet off the tee. I'm like, fuck this, dude. I go to my cart. He's like, come on, hit another one. I'm like, dude, you're pushing. Like, starting to embarrass me a little bit here now. Like, 1 out of bounds, 2 out of bounds, 3. I got to walk 6 yards to pick up the third ball. He's like, hit another one. And I just took like a half a swing, and I probably hit it like 210 somewhere near the fairway. But yo, it was awesome. That was probably the most golf talk we've had so far. But I'm all over the Masters. I'm all over the U.S. Open, but I did not see yesterday. And I have watched, like I watched Pebble Beach, and I watched some of these early events. I just didn't have a chance to watch yesterday. So there you go. What else we got here? What are my thoughts on David Montgomery to the Texans? Yeah, whatever. What was the number on that? He's got no role there, not as much. Do you get the numbers on that? It's not going to be much there.
I can check real quick.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, so you're going to see a lot of things, and what I care first and foremost about is the running back market, which he obviously is, but how this is going to impact Breece Hall. Breece Hall will, without a doubt, be a Jet in 2026, and it is my absolute belief that Breece Hall will be a Jet beyond. I think they're going to come up with a 3-year deal. He's going to be happy with the guaranteed money. If I had to take a guess, maybe between $24 and $30 million, something like that, 24 and 27. It's going to be about 10 per. That's my guess. But they're going to get this done. I'd be very surprised if they don't get it done, and they've got to get it done by, obviously, they can tag him, and they have to make the tag announcement by tomorrow. It would not be the franchise. It would be the transition, which means they could react to anybody, blah, blah, blah. But he's going to stay. And the running back market seems to be interesting. It looks like the Giants might be interested in Walker, Super Bowl hero. So, yeah, there's a lot of football juice for sure. All right, there you go. Thank you, Charlie. Charlie F. 6675 to the Texans for O-lineman, Juice Scruggs, and 2 draft picks. Interesting. That's a lot. Schefter had that. There you go.
And then he's making $5.9 million a season.
Yeah, you're going to get a lot more. Hall's definitely going to, and he should. He's going to get more than that. There you go. So fun with that. All right, let me get a couple of other things in here because I want to make sure that we have plenty of time to do this. Obviously, hit the combine. Obviously, touched on the Knicks. Obviously, I'm sure you had a couple of chuckles with my golf journey. It's a disgrace. And oh yeah, absolutely. I mentioned this at least once. We are now. I wouldn't even say we're in the beginning stages. It's more a concept. Like when I told you about the BT and Sal live show, the first one, wheels were in motion, and then bang, execution, sold out, happened. And that went so well. I knew we were doing a BT and Sal Live 2.0. I just didn't know when and necessarily where, but I knew it was going to happen. Told you, executed, locked in, April 2, Wantagh, Long Island. Carl Banks, the irony about the full circle. Our guy, Carl, it's going to be awesome. He is our special guest at Mulcahy's. Tickets on sale. It's in the chat. It's on Twitter. I tweeted all that stuff out. Anyway, this is not even close to being done. But it is my hope and it is my belief at this point that we will put together, to what extent, I don't know, where, got a few ideas, not at liberty to say yet, a BT and Sal golf outing. A BT and Sal golf outing. So you will get to see the circus in person. Hopefully it's not much of a circus, and at that point I'm going to have some more time to actually get to the range and hit some balls, but I've done that for 20 years, and it's still a circus. So anticipate a circus, anticipate a good time. I don't know when, probably if I even like just a narrow parameter here or a broad parameter. I think to me, anything after 4th of July is probably not a good vacation, school's out. I would love to be able to do something in May. I would even think, early-ish to mid-June it's going to be on a weekday. It wouldn't be on a weekend. Too many things going on with the kids with games. So yeah, hopefully that comes to fruition. I'm going to give it my best. BT and Sal golf outing. But again, BT and Sal Live 2.0 with Carl Banks. That's locked in. All right, a couple of things here with the Mets here. Now, this is not so much about the Mets, although I think it's going to wind up being the Mets. Will Salmon, who did a great job and is a very good reporter, athletic. This is more of a projection. This is not saying he's going to get this from the Mets. Freddie Peralta, 4 years, $112 million. That's the thought, the neighborhood on what he's going to command. He's a free agent. He's making, I think it's 8 or 9 million. I think it's 8. By the way, speaking of former Brewer pitchers, how about Devin Williams giving up a bomb the first pitch he throws? I know it was a cutter. He's experimenting with a new pitch. I'm not going nuts, but I mean, the irony there, God, don't get off to a start like you did with the Yankees, because without Edwin Diaz, who's now at the Dodgers, and, no equity with the Mets, and the Met fans are already pissed off that they lost Diaz, and the Mets messed that up. They didn't mess up Nimmo. They didn't mess up Pete. They messed up Diaz, and they got to own that, and that's going to hurt them this year because even if Diaz is really good, he won't be as good as even if Williams is very good, he won't be as good as Diaz. So I think he'll be fine, but that was tremendous. It was a bomb. I think it hit the batter's eye in dead center. It was a cutter, though. Trust me, I know the story. He's working on something. All right, so 4 years, 112. I think he's going to stay with the Mets. I saw that. Now, the other thing, too, so this is quick. Ron Darling said something really interesting on the broadcast over the weekend about Kodai Senga. Props to Ronnie. I mean, somebody's got to freaking say it. I paraphrase. He said, hey, the Mets aren't waiting on Kodai Senga to adapt anymore to the American pitching rotation. It's now incumbent upon him to adjust and not for the Mets to adjust. Now, it looks like Mendoza was a little counter to that, which I completely disagree with. I mean, dude, you've been here a couple of years. Can you figure it out at this point? I understand the first year, you pitch with less frequency in Japan. You want to get him comfortable. But this notion that you're going to move mountains for Kodai Senga is laughable. He ain't good enough. He's not worth it, man. And quite frankly, unlike last year, the Mets have many more interesting pitching options to kind of push Kodai Senga aside. Like adapt or die, bro. You've been in the United States for 4 years now? This will be year 4 with the Mets, right? He signed a 5-year deal. I'm pretty sure this is year 4. And, he's just shown an inability to come back from injury, or some people think it's a lack of willingness to test himself. Like he's a very slow healer. That's rubbed people the wrong way. I'm not inside his body, so I'm not gonna say that that's necessarily true. I know it's out there. I get it. I can see why some people think that. But yeah, I'm totally with Ron Darling on that. What are you gonna? Come on, dude. In 9 years in this, he's not going to be here for 9 years. But 9 years in this dude's career, the Anaheim Angels are going to have a 6-man rotation to make him feel good. Get used to Major League Baseball, bro. You're a major league pitcher at this point. You're not pitching for Japan. You're pitching for the Mets. So figure it out. That's a joke. Don't need to really go very in depth on that, but I thought that was interesting. This was also a little interesting. So Brandon Nimmo made some news over the weekend, and Brandon Nimmo was very honest very revealing about how he was surprised and caught off guard. I get it. I'm sure he loved being a Met, drafted by the Mets out of high school from Wyoming, and it had to crush him that he's no longer a Met because he signed that big extension. And while he was never going to be a superstar, he had a chance to be one of those guys that's forever revered. A career Met. No retired, although at this rate, they retire everybody, not just the Mets. I'm not even sure I would have retired CeCe. I've said that, or O'Neal, but it just seems like the bar's been lowered a bit. So who knows? Maybe Nimmo would have been retired someday. Brandon Nimmo Day at Citi Field. But I know he loved being a Met, and I think he showed that in how hard he played. I also think it was time to move on from Nimmo. Can't throw 5 years in a row, on-base percentage incrementally getting worse and worse, kind of looking for power, and he's found it, but it's kind of changed some other elements of his game. You could do better. And his name is Juan Soto in left field. And then obviously Benj, making some good throws, making some good plays, hitting. The Mets right field competition, everybody's actually hitting pretty well. So it's going to be Benj, but it's good to see everybody respond to the challenge of job pursuit here. Good job. But he said one thing that he said was, that he thinks that part of the reason why he was shipped out is because during the meetings, he would always speak his mind, and he would always even admit it, I would go very long. So maybe he's long-winded like me. I don't know. I'll tell you one thing. Do I think, now this isn't going to get any clicks here. Do I think that Nimmo and Alonso were shipped out partly due to their political beliefs? Yep, I do. Can't prove it, but I do. Now, that's one element. You could justify it because they were both expendable. Pete much less so than Nimmo, but I get it. I've said this before anybody, and as loud as anybody, I would not have retained Pete, multi 5 years like Baltimore. Happy for Pete. He's going to mash, probably hit 38 to 40 home runs, do well for them, and I'm rooting for Pete. Good guy, good player, really good Met. But it was time to switch it up. The culture, the change, and there's the dynamics of the clubhouse. And I'm just trying to, there's always that person that does go a little bit too long in meetings. All right, let's go wrap it up, man. And if he's, it's really hard to criticize him because I don't know what he was expanding on. If he was expanding on the Mets' poor play, or baseball stuff, and he was going like this, hey, I got to be better as well. Well, then that's one thing. Go as long as you want. But if you're, just going on and on and on, and you're not really saying much, and you're trying to be a pseudo captain, well, I could see why everybody would be bored by that. Dude, we're here long enough, man. I don't need to hear this stuff. Like, the schedule for a Major League Baseball player is as long as any schedule, and repetitive and really mundane at the end. And I love baseball, but it does get repetitive here. Any sport out there. Because if you've got let's say you've got a 7:10 first pitch, you're getting to the yard at like 3. You're going to stretch, you're going to eat, you're going to go over the meetings. If you're a hitter, you're going to opposing pitcher. If you're a catcher or a pitcher, you're going to work on the detailed scouting report for that night's lineup that you're about to face. Like, it's not just show up, take 9 swings, take 3 wind sprints, long toss for 2 minutes, and you're going to play a game. And then the game, there's no time limit, even though it's gotten quicker. They shaved off time with the pitch clock. It could still go 3 hours and whatever, in the neighborhood of that. And then after the game, you got to take a shower. You've got to meet the media. So you're pulling up in the players' parking lot around 3, and some earlier because they're lifting. Some lift after a game as well. Many do. And you're getting in your car around 11:30, midnight, and then whatever time you get home, probably live on Long Island or Long Island City if you're a young Met without a family. Maybe you have a nice condo there. It's a long day. And if limo's making it longer, then nobody wants to hear it. But I thought that was very interesting. Now, the one thing I'm going to really defend him on, I found this to be very interesting. So he said that he thought it rubbed people the wrong way, his process of going through his pregame hitting routine. So I don't know if many of you know this, but when you're the home team, you hit first, which means you hit earlier. And I understand this. Like, if you're going to get especially during the summer, you're going to get all lathered up, right? And go through and, get your reps, get your hacks, boom, 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 and then shut it down and, have to ramp back up after the opposing team hits. And then, you want to go back out and stretch and do your throwing again because they don't take infield, outfield the way they used to. I remember we would go to the games. My dad would take me to Shea in Yankee Stadium all the time. And he took me to Shea because he's a Mets guy. But the Mets were so good back then with Keith and Darryl and Doc. I actually enjoyed it. But then obviously he knew we had to see more of Mattingly in the Bronx, which we did. And I remember watching them take infield, outfield, and I loved it. I was mesmerized by their arms and their movements. It was just phenomenal. The average, you don't get to see that as a fan anymore. You just don't do that. So, but Nimmo said that he would deviate from that process and he would have his own routine, which included basically, I'm guessing hitting the cage, hitting indoors in the tunnel underneath the stadium or by the clubhouse, and then get ready for the game. So he didn't have to, work himself up to a lather, cool down, ramp back up, and go play. And actually, I think that makes a world of sense. I really do. Now, if it's bothering people because he's disengaged or he's detached from the team, was it ever addressed? And if it was, what was Nimmo's reaction? Was he receptive to it? Did he just say, hey, this is what I'm doing? Did he ignore it? Did he not care? Those are things I don't know. I could see why it bothered some guys, but I also can see, and I'm going to defend Nimmo here, if that's his process and he's performing, and for the most part, he performed enough where you could justify it. I mean, if he's hitting 202 with 7 home runs and he's running out there every day as a starting left fielder or before that, the starting center fielder, yeah, I mean, be well within the rights of somebody to say, yo, bro, join the party. I mean, hit with us. What are you doing? But if it's kind of working and he communicates his reasoning, then I don't really have an issue with it. But it seemed like a lot of Mets did. And here's what's very interesting for the Mets this year. Now, Lindor's coming along healing. He'll be fine. The hand injury, the hamate bone surgery. And Soto's been very much a leader. He's putting himself out there. I like that. He's taking ownership. He's more comfortable. It's his team now, along with Lindor. But now there's no more, and I'm not going to get into this too detailed now because I've hit this so many times. But, man, it's one of the main stories to watch, along with, Mendoza's hot seat, the Mets pitching. Like, if the Mets start poorly, which I don't think they will. But if they do, Mendoza, if there's a real element of underachievement this year and there's a lethargic tone to the way they play, he's out. I would fire him because I think he was terrible last year. And he was good year 1, terrible year 2, year 3, split the difference. Who are you? And I feel more good about Mendoza and the Mets than I feel bad, but you still have to do it. But these stories about even Tommy Pham years ago saying team didn't work hard, and you hear these whispers, this guy doesn't get along with this dude because of his political beliefs, and who knows what's what. I don't really know, but it is kind of ironic that the players who were sent packing, again, they were expendable, certainly Nimmo to an extent, and Alonso a little less, but they don't seem to be in alignment with the politics of Lindor or Steve Cohen and Alex Cohen. And a lot of people think that that's real, and I think that it's probably naive to think that that didn't play a little part. To what extent, I don't know. I can promise you, if Brandon Nimmo had a rocket and Brandon Nimmo was hitting 290 with an OPS of 897 or 902 every year, stealing 25 bases, it didn't matter. It wouldn't matter who he voted for or what he espouses. He'd still be a Met. And I could promise you that, if Pete was, better defender, made better throws, maybe didn't strike out as much, maybe his long-term, body projection was a little bit more favorable, I can promise you, no matter what he thinks or who he votes for, he'd still be there. So, that's a lot, I guess, but there's been a lot of minutia that's never really been proven. A lot of speculatory stuff. Some have confirmed it to an extent. But I wanted to at least defend Nimmo with the batting practice stuff. And I love what Ronnie Darling said. The other thing, too, quick Yankee note. The Stanton stuff from the other day, it is what it is. I mean, you hope he plays 100 games. And if he does, he's going to have an OPS, around 900. He's going to hit 24, 25 bombs if he gets the requisite at bats. He can't run, can't throw, can't field. He's a righty stick they need. I mean, everybody knows the scouting report on Stanton at this point. But this is not about Stanton because I talked about him the other day. If you guys want to find it, it's in there about the injury, the potato chip stuff. To me, it just, once again, confirms what I told you, and it's going to bother me before the start of the season. Now, there's no chance Spencer Jones makes this team, and I really don't think that Jason Dominguez is going to make the team. And I love the way both young players are responding. Still kind of a small sample to an extent. Dominguez 5 for 15, couple of doubles, a home run, 5 ribbies. So he's playing well. He's responded nicely. And Spencer Jones has 3 home runs and a massive OPS. Are they going to be on the opening day roster? I think a lot of it depends on Stanton. If Stanton is deemed ready to, and maybe to a lesser extent, Bellinger. That was interesting. You never love when a veteran's back flares up. I'm not worried about it, but you got to monitor that. Hopefully he's okay. And he should be. And I think he will be. But if it lingered with Bellinger, that's a spot for Dominguez. And more specifically, if it lingers or if it gets worse with Stanton, then that's a spot for Jason Dominguez. But still, I'm telling you, Spencer Jones can hit, and I don't know when he's going to be sent down to the minor league camp here with the WBC and all this stuff going on. And I'm excited for the WBC. I'll do a little bit of that tomorrow, right? But the thought that Jones had a chance to make this team, it's a fallacy. He's got 3 home runs already. He can hit 7 and wound up hitting 419. I think he hit 419 in the spring last year. And he had no chance to make the team. He's just not making the team. He's not. So that's that. And then the other thing, and then J-Rob, what I want you to do, I'm going to wrap it up, a little something on the Johnnies here. Just hammer in some text. I want to get at least 5 before we get out of here. Hammer in some good ones. Could be about the combine. Could be about the Mets-Yankee stuff there. Could be about the Knicks. I spent a lot of time on the Knicks. Could be about the Johnnies, which I'll get into in a moment. New York Sports 94. With the Giants, Pat Leonard said neither Scat or Tracy are running back 1. Do you believe that? If so, the Giants signed Walker. What's the approach with those 2 guys? Well, I think Tyrone Tracy's good. I like him. He's a viable, proven NFL runner. He's not a star. He's not a scrub. He's solid. I think Tyrone Tracy's fine. Scatterboo, I just hope that he's not one of these cult heroes. I hope that he is not like the Giants version of, say, Kevin Moss all those years ago with the Yankees back in the day. I hope that that's the case. I hope he's not the Giants version of Kevin Moss. Kevin Moss burst on the scene, hit 1 million home runs, quickest rookie, quickest to 10 home runs and 12 home runs and all those other things he did. And we think we have the reincarnation here of Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig. I mean, he looked the part. The guy looked like Cary Grant. He looked like an actor, 6'4", lean, sculpted. He had this jaw. It's ridiculous. And then he hit all these bombs. I mean, central casting, pinstripes, right? And then we know what happened. Now, this is different because Cam Scatterboo got hurt. But I think that is real. I don't know what Pat reported. I have no idea, although, I'll take it as gospel what you just said. But I like Tracy. I don't love him. I like him. I respect him. I'm rooting for Cam Scatterboo because the energy he brings to the huddle and the stadium is without precedent. I mean, really, I don't know the last time there's been better players. I don't know the last time a Giant brought that kind of cult hero juice that the salsa with Cruz and, when he was balling early on, maybe, but this is different. This is like old school, just pounded up down somebody's throat, which, football fans appreciate. I think he'll be okay. And I know he's well into rehab here, but I think Kenneth Walker for the Giants would be really good. I do. Hey, the more you have around your young quarterback who is immensely gifted, and I think the real deal, the better. So I don't think it's a bad thing. Let me get, how about Jimmy Horn 10, Rock Tavern, New York. What's going on, Jim? Are you planning, say, live watch parties for the later rounds of the WBC for Team USA? Was that the first live show? Can't wait for the second. Nice. So you're in Red Bank at the Vogel Theater, and I assume that means you've either already got your tickets, and it's in the chat here. It's on my X account. It's on the tab. Post on the YouTube channel. It's going to be everywhere. Sal's going to pop it out as well. I think he already did. The at Mulcahy's in Wantagh. I don't know if I'm going to do a live stream for the WBC, but I do want to do some live streams here. I've said that. I thought I was going to do an early one with St. John's for DePaul, but I'm like, there's just no interest there. It's like a 9 o'clock start, 4,000 fans in the building. I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm going to do it eventually. Quite frankly, I also want to make sure we know how to do it. Now, I know that J-Rod knows how to do it, but, is that something you guys really want? I mean, I'd be in my office, probably with a drink at night, sipping a little scotch, sipping on gin and juice, a little scotch, and, watching a half of the Knicks or watching the first few innings of the Yanks and the Mets or, whatever it might be. I'm definitely going to do that with football. That I know. I'm going to do it with football. I want to make sure you guys find it interesting enough to have some demand where, all right, you see me. I can't play the game because that's a copyright trademark thing, obviously. I have to have the audio down. Yeah, I guess we're all watching the game together with a cold one, and reacting on the stream, on the text stream. Yeah, I'm going to do it. I just don't know when. But yes, I'm going to do it there, but not for the WBC. I don't think there's enough demand for that. Get that back up if you can. I was going to read that, Jay. You pop that down. JJ McCarthy. I thought I saw that. At Paulie L84 drummer. Paul, what's up? Vikings plan to be moving on from J.J. McCarthy. Any interest for the Jets? No, I have no interest in J.J. McCarthy. No. I mean, the only way that I would have interest from McCarthy, first of all, when you get drafted in the first round, I mean, you just, what are you going to give up? You're not going to, obviously not a first-round pick. You're going to give up a 2? I'm not. You're going to give up a 3, a conditional 4 that turns into a 3. I mean, I'm not saying that there's no way. So I guess I take that back. I guess if the deal's right, but I'd have to have a veteran here. Like if it's, and it won't be because they know that they have to get somebody viable in here. And you're hearing a lot of Kyler Murray to the Jets smoke, which, I mean, if it happens, I'll be exciting because it represents an upgrade, but I don't want that. It seems like they're very reluctant to give Malik Willis $30 million. I don't think he's coming here either. I love Malik Willis. I think he's got a chance to be a superstar, and I love the fact that he's coming from a real organization. That excites me because the Packers know what they're doing. He's been coached up, and every time he plays well, and he can throw. He's not just a runner. Like Justin Fields can't throw at all. He's terrible. That's not Malik Willis. Do not equate the two there. There's no real comparisons there. Fields is a running back who's thinking about moving to running back. I don't know if you guys saw that. And Malik Willis is a quarterback. Big difference. But now McCarthy, come on. I don't think he could play that well. I don't see it. And I didn't see it when he was at Michigan either. He jumped up the board. That's why when we did the burning questions today, I strongly believe that J.J. McCarthy is going inside. Not J.J. McCarthy. Who am I talking about here? Ty Simpson is going to go inside the top 15, and I'd be okay with that. I actually also like, now, it could equate to the same. Wherever he goes, he bombs. I think that Simpson is going to be better than McCarthy. I like him more coming out of college. We'll see. How about this? If the WBC was over 2 weeks in July, in place of the All-Star game like the Olympics for hockey, it would be immensely more popular, and the players, especially pitchers, would be in the prime midseason form. Yeah, I mean, that's been kicked around a little bit there. I don't really have any interest in stopping the baseball season for 2 weeks. I don't. I think the WBC is actually at the perfect time. I get what you're saying. There's a massive logistical hurdle, which I don't think will ever be solved. So I don't think that's going to happen. They've kicked it around on the lowest level, but I'd be surprised if that changes. I think the timing is great, though, because, it's something to talk about. If you love baseball, you're going to watch. And I'm going to watch as many. Of course, I love watching the United States. I love watching the DR. I love watching Puerto Rico. I love watching Japan. Love it, man. And, I mean, Team USA, Judge, Harper, Corbin Carroll, Schwarber. It's gonna be stacked, man. I think Skeens. I think is Skeens gonna make more than one start? I don't know. Scooble's only gonna make one. Either way, it's there if you want it. It's cool theater. It's well attended. There's juice. The fan base comes back up. There you go. Yeah, I think I told you guys the story one time when I played up in God, where was it? It was at Monroe High School. This was like they didn't really call it AAU for baseball, but it was basically an AAU team, club team, and it was before my junior and senior year in high school. And we played up at Monroe, and I remember they had a short, high fence in right field, and there were only 3 white kids on the team. And basically the entire team was Dominican and Puerto Rican, and it was awesome, dude. I mean, those Sundays were and Saturdays, phenomenal. Absolutely. I remember Danny Vasquez was, I said, he got drafted. Danny Vasquez, Sanders, big African-American, big kid, got drafted. We had a couple of Spanish pitchers who were phenomenal. Oh, my God. It was so great, like the barbecue and the cowbell and the Dominican flags and the Puerto Rican flags. Who was our short? Kenny Iglesias was our shortstop. There's some names for you. That is amazing energy. So I do enjoy it. And I did have a chance to play baseball in the DR when I was in college, and it was equally amazing, even better because it was many more people, bigger platform, big stadiums, whatever. No, I like the WBC. I don't think they need to move it. I think it's a good ramp up to the season. I understand you got to hold your breath. You guys on the mound, Diaz, the celebration, guys get hurt. I know. Pitchers ramping up early, max exertion. I get it. And maybe that plays into it. Like if it's in the middle of the summer, they're already worked up. I think it would benefit the pitching. And if it does happen, I think that would be the impetus behind it. I think the hitters are ready to go. Pitchers are getting there, but I don't want to go 2 weeks in the summer without baseball. I would rather see the baseball season trimmed down from 162 to say 150 then have like a 2 week stoppage in the middle of the season. I'm just not down with that. All right. Last thing. St. John's. That game against UConn, it was the worst game I've ever seen. Not just for St. John's. I really think it was the worst college basketball game I've ever seen. And when you get thumped in that manner, you're riding a high of a 13-game win streak, which they were, and you're moving up the polls and all that stuff, and you get absolutely smacked and offer no resistance and look so inept and feeble the way they did against UConn. And you got to give UConn credit for making them feel that way. But St. John's looked jittery and not unprepared in terms of scouting with the coaching. I don't mean that. They just didn't look like they were ready for that moment. Like that cauldron of energy. You had Hurley calling out the UConn fans the week before that. It was a perfect storm for an ass kicking. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, St. John's went 18 minutes with no field goals. They scored 2 field goals in the second quarter. Just horrific. I mean, it was like watching 1940s basketball. And again, I've done a lot of games and a lot of years where St. John's was pitiful, which is why I really appreciate this. My first year, they had 6 wins. I think they were 6-23. And like my second or third year, they broke a 25-game road losing streak when they won at South Florida. I mean, you want some bad stats, I got them for you. But did you really think that St. John's wasn't going to bounce back ferociously? I don't mean just win by 2 or 3, nip and tuck here, pull it out late, just squeeze by Villanova. You're surprised that St. John's destroyed and dismantled and took Villanova's heart the way UConn took St. John's up in not Stores. That was obviously at the Civic Center. Really? Hartford, you surprised about that? This is what Rick Pitino's about. This is what Rick Pitino does. And so they played Wednesday, and I had to go to campus. Remember, I had to end the show a little bit early last Thursday. I had to go to campus and record the Red Storm report. Number one, I got a little beef with Rick because he lied to me. So I asked him about the white suit. He's like, nah. He's like, I don't feel good about wearing the white suit. I'm like, oh, well, And I pushed back. I'm like, dude, come on. This is tradition. You got to rock the white suit. And he's like, nah, the way we play it, I don't feel comfortable wearing it. Of course, he comes out in the white suit, and he's got like 12 of his Wingfoot buddies, 12 of his coffee buddies, 12 of his vino buddies, of his Rayo's buddies, all in white suits. 12 guys getting ready to get their communion 2.0. It was phenomenal. And they just kicked ass, right? So I should have known better. But I got to ask him when I go this week. I'm like, so when you told me on camera that you weren't going to wear it was at least in the back of your mind still up for interpretation. Because the thing that he told me, this was the first time he had it custom made. He's got Versace. I mean, he's Rick Pitino. He's wearing the best stuff that you could possibly get, and he goes, this year he actually had it custom made. Like they just had the fabric. I think it was imported from Italy as well. And they made it literally to the inch. Now, I've got a lot of nice. I don't wear suits. I've had suits, of course. I used to have a bunch custom made when I was doing TV, but I'm more of a, nice jean, nice sneaker, nice dress shirt, nice blazer. The blazers, I get tailored, all that stuff. But there was a point where I was getting stuff custom fit and custom made because I needed that, right? I don't really wear that stuff anymore. But he, at the beginning of the year was when he told me he was having it made. He busted it out. And then I'm like, man, like that, just because you got rolled by UConn, you're not going to wear it? I believed him. I even tweeted it out. Right? And of course, then he has a press conference, I think the next day with the national media. Yeah, I'm reconsidering. Rick might wear white. And then he comes out New York when he comes out at the Garden, which is phenomenal. He's on camera and he's wearing the white suits. Anyway, I got a little beef with Rick. I gotta bring that up on Thursday of this week to shoot the next show. But there was not a doubt. I didn't think they'd win by 32. There was not a doubt in my mind that St. John's was going to be so ready and so locked in defensively, help defense, which was awful. Like their weak side rotation defense against UConn was deplorably bad. Nobody played with heart. Nobody played with energy. They accepted getting destroyed. And I know that drove Rick nuts. And he blamed himself. And I talked about this on Friday. He said, it's my fault. No, it wasn't. He had him prepared. They knew what UConn was going to bring. They knew the scouting report. They knew what Caravan has and Mullins has and everything. They know what these guys have. Come on. Solo ball. They just got whacked and they didn't respond. They didn't punch back. They got knocked out, really. But it's never about, unless it's the last game of the tournament, it's really not about how you get, all right, do you get knocked out or at least knocked down? If you got knocked out, that's not good. But you get knocked down, you're up against the ropes, you got a little cut, you're a little bloody. What do you show me next? All right, that's the character reveal right there. And I was not surprised at all that they had great character. And I was surprised about this, though, because the other thing I asked Rick about when this is during the show, I said, all right, so you played Wednesday, and we're in conversation at this point on Thursday, and the game Saturday. So, most coaches don't work their teams hard the day before a game. You want to save their legs. And he said, and I kind of presented that to him. I said, I imagine, because he was getting ready to coach practice Thursday. He was actually in his practice sweatsuit. I said, oh, man, I wouldn't want to be one of those players today. I know you're going to drive him into the ground. I said, tough one today, and then probably just a little shoot around on Friday. He's like, oh, no, we go hard on Fridays. So we go hard before the games, too. I go, really? He goes, yeah. He goes, we basically play like a game the day before a game. And that's why St. John's is cardio and their ability to come back, whether it's Seton Hall or Xavier or just jump on Villanova the other night, other games that have come back in and from big deficits. I think that's part of the reason why they could do it. Number one, coaching, but also when the other team's starting to wilt, they're getting that second win. They're fresh. They're feeling good. And they beat the shit out of each other in practice. Like not many whistles. They swallow the whistle and they run. So, I don't know where they're going to drop in the polls. Polls is out in about another hour or so. I would think, let me see, they were up to 15. Obviously, always depends what the other teams do there. It didn't really impact their net ranking, which is good. They did drop in seeding, which they should have. They're right now about a 6 seed. I don't think they've got no chance to be a top 4 seed, which would be a regional advantage. So, closer to home, whether it's up in Buffalo, whatever it might be, it's not going to happen. Even if they win out, and then we've got Georgetown tomorrow, which I'm doing at the Garden, and then Friday at the Rock against Seton Hall, which I'm doing, and then the Big East tournament starts. Now, Creighton lost to Providence, so even if St. John's wins out and UConn wins out, UConn will get the tiebreaker. The thought was that Creighton would beat Providence, and it would go the other way. Now, it could change. UConn can lose a game. St. John's can lose a game, whatever. But I feel like UConn's going to probably wind up with the 1 and St. John's with the 2, and they'll meet for the championship. And even if St. John's beats them in the rematch and wins the Big East championship and runs the table these next 3 games, I don't think they're going to be a 4 seed. There's just too many teams in front of them. And I was looking at the math. I don't think it adds up. But I don't think it really matters because, the way they looked the other night and the way they've looked most of the season, there's enough there to think that they're going to win a couple games. And if they don't, we'll evaluate that. Last year, they were the 2 seed. They won once. Colossal underachievement. RJ Lewis, the game against Arkansas, nobody played well except Zuby, we know. But the other night, I'm going to wrap it up here. The other night, like if because anybody can just watch the game and say they played great, they just smoked Villanova, took their soul, great defense, all these assists, all those things are true. To me, what represents the greatest upside was the way Ian Jackson played. Ian Jackson looked like the pro that I thought they were getting from Carolina when he transferred in for all that NIL money. He looked absolutely awesome. And if you get more and more of that, well, now the ceiling for St. John's goes up a level. Listen, I said the other day, I think the two biggest disappointments for St. John's were Sannon, and that remains true. He just hasn't played well, has not played well enough. He's underachieved. And Jackson, who's played better than Sannon, but still was below where I and many and certainly St. John's thought he would be. If that's the new version, and remember, he's still a young player. When it clicks, it doesn't click at the same time for everybody, especially when you're playing for somebody who's demanding like Rick Pitino, especially defensively. And what did he say? This is why this is why he's special. That's why I think he's the greatest coach ever in the history of college basketball. I've said that, right? So there was one sequence, they were up pretty big, where Jackson, I forget who he was guarding, but he went under a screen, and instead of going over and around and over the screen to defend the shooter, and he was in the middle of playing great. Rick pulled him out for I think it was 30 seconds, whatever it was, and he said, "You're going right back in." He said, "If you ever go under a screen, what did he say? If you ever go under a screen on a shooter again," whatever he said, you benched, or don't do it, or you better not happen again. But I love that because he taught him something right in that moment, and he didn't strip the kid of his mojo. He didn't leave him on the bench for 8-9 minutes. He literally said, "You're going right back in. Don't ever go under a screen again on a shooter again." And that's one of the reasons why he's a master. All right, J-Rod, did I miss anything? What do we got? What's happening? What's going on, buddy? Talk to me.
I mean, missing much? I don't know. This is definitely our longest edition of Unleashed, I believe, so far. So, you hit every sport. You hit golf, we hit basketball, baseball, football.
Couple of stories with BT. You got to get that from time to time. You never know. Randomness is good in the right spot.
Here's a text from Slay Kids. Is Zuby a first round pick? Knicks bound.
I think he's going to go early second, possibly late first, and I think Zuby Ejiofor is going to have an 8-9 year career in the NBA. I'd love to see him go to a team like the Thunder. I mean, I'd love to see him go to the Knicks. That would be phenomenal. But I want him to go to the right situation. Oh no. What on, J-Ron? That's not your fault. I know. It's all good.
It's the battery, definitely.
The battery on what?
Your laptop battery. Is it charging?
No, it's not. It's fully charged.
It's good?
Yeah.
Then what is that?
I don't know.
Right,
it could be honestly, it could be the Wi-Fi.
I
think it is. When they came, even though we got to fix it, when they came to install the now it's too glossy, as we know, the BT Unleashed logo, they had to move, and they actually, I said, hey, consolidate these wires, will you? I had so many wires for the Wi-Fi, and it's the routers in my home office, and I think they did a little something there. And we got 5G. We got it souped up to the roof, man. But we're gonna have to figure that out. That's not a battery thing. That's actually, I think that's a Wi-Fi thing. Yeah, I think Zuby's got a chance to really go late first round. He's a great defender. He can defend the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's got really good shooting form. He's incredibly high character. He's got the perfect height and weight and strength and speed ratio. He's got a chance to go late first. I love him. I am gonna miss him, man. He's the best. So, with that being said, hey, one more time, it's in the text chain there. The link for tickets, okay? Yep. We hit 17,000 subs. As we keep climbing, we'll definitely fly through 18, I would think, by the end of this week, maybe earlier. 20, certainly by the start of baseball season. So go and get those tickets. BT and Sal live with Carl Banks, our buddy. We're going to come full circle with number 58. So, J-Rod, let me bounce here, buddy. You have a good day as well. All right, J-Rod, do your thing. We'll get the shorts up there. Obviously, like it, subscribe, all that good stuff. We're up on TikTok. Go find it. Have a little fun. And I will catch you guys tomorrow at 10 right here on Unleashed. Peace.
This is Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me? This is Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me? This is Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me? This is Unleash. Are you listening? Can you hear me?
With your host,